go and keep district separate. Keep the rest of this all in one video. I reckon just have district out there. Have it be a little bit less connected than the rest of these, and I'll just have it there as a proof of concept, so to speak. So moving on, we have CTF Hellfire. So let's get a look for this one. To begin with, you have decent maneuverability around here. You can go for a very wide jump around here, it'll just land, air blast anybody around. You can kind of just jump around to the lower parts, jump all around here, skip around the entire map essentially. Now, the very nice thing about the jetpack here is that you can kind of just like initiate from the middle of the open on these points here. Yeah, it's pretty nice. You can kind of just not have to worry about falling into the pit by accidentally messing up your jump. The main thing is just like the initial jet phase the jetpack provides, like the initial bounce up like that, yeah. Now that being said, it's all very wide open. There isn't that much cover for your jumps. You don't have that much room for spin. It's mostly just like trying to catch people off guard and land on people from above. I don't think it's going to be as strong of a play or pick for you as the, District is, but I think you could still do some solid jetpacking just for pure maneuverability here, just not so much like using it for an offensive potential, unless you have like other people to combo with. I'd probably give this map a B tier. I think B tier is probably going to be a case where it's like pretty good for mobility, so on and so forth, but just not as good for actually like aggressing on people. Usually you'd be wanting to think of something like, I don't know, Frontier, Snowplow, or Pier, where you'd be able to use it for a large amount of potential aggression and offensiveness with all the vertical architecture of the maps. But, you know, you'll have some maps on the weaker end. This one is just not that strong, but it could be a lot worse. So let's go ahead and slot it over to the B tier for now, yeah. Next up, Gorge. I believe this would be a capsule of flag Gorge for this mode, yeah. Manpower Gorge. Let's inspect this map. So already you see like a decent rollout over there, but in doing so you kind of leave yourself in a poor position for this mid fight, so I'd recommend not doing that for your initial rollout. I think honestly the play here is just to keep speeding along, maybe use one jetpack charge or so, but then save the other ones just for being around. Well, no. I was kind of expecting it to be more like, I don't know, CP Gorge or 5 CP Gorge rather, to be specific. Let's go and inspect this mid-fight over here. So this is where the mid-fight would be happening at. Ooh, this map is going down in the tiers. You can kind of flank around, but it's not that much you wouldn't be doing just with like traditional detonatoring, you know, you see it's all closer combat here. It's kind of outside of the ideal effective range of the jetpack. You can do some stuff like this. You can jump right across, but outside of second in specific, I think that's going to be about all the usage you get out of the jetpack here. And you can try and do some fancy stuff around here. I know I would usually in, like, attack defense, for instance, but overall it's just not that good. Yeah. I think D tier for now. I've seen worse. I feel like second does come with somewhat salvage it, but we'll go ahead and have to see about that later when we have other maps to add to the list. Moving on, we have Foundry over here. Let's see what Foundry has to offer for CTF. But yeah, definitely the main thing you want to be looking for with these jetpacks here is just being able to jump and just go super wide and kind of diverge from your initial area, really like strafing is the word you're looking for here, and then you just want to be able to like kind of dive bomb behind people, maybe launch them forward a little bit, but then just be able to like backburn them, and for that you usually want a lot of vertical cover, say like something like this, where you kind of just like aren't necessarily seen as much initially. I think this could be a pretty good map for the jetpack, honestly. I think there's a decent lot of potential here, but let's see how consistent it is. On last, you're not doing much with the jetpack there. Any jump you will make is just going to be kind of foreseen by the enemy team. They're going to see it. Over here, you have pretty good rollouts. I do really like this jump, and then on the offensive side, you could go and do something like this and just land like far, far behind. As long as you have people aggressing from the front, you should be able to distract enemies or collapse while enemies are distracted. Going over to the mid, you definitely see a lot of potential here. You have a wide open area. Not all that much cover, but the main thing is here is that it's just so wide open, and there's so much airspace. That's the main other secondary factor here. First, cover. Second, airspace, I'd say. And going into this point, you basically have the same idea here, where it's just a wide amount of open space that you can just strafe around, and if you have teammates distracting for you there, that's great. If not, you're better off just sticking to payload. You're just gonna get killed if they have like heavies or sentry guns. But overall, a lot of room for technique and style. Like, just check that there, that can catch people off guard, and just a large amount of areas for you to jump from. I would give this one probably either a low A, high B maybe. Just depends on what other standards are established. Now, Thunder Mountain. A little bit of a spoiler here, Thunder Mountain is normally very good for the jetpack on a regular payload, and I suspect it'd be no different here. You see, you already have such a wide assortment of rollout options, a really good ability to just roll out super high. On defense, you can even do something like this. Now, this is a bit of a slow jump, but looking at that height's pretty glorious. But honestly, I think you're better suited off to this one because of the velocity. And then as they're pushing in, like, towards the flanks, like, let's say you'll see, like, an enemy combo with a Kritzkrieg or a sniper rolling out to the flank there, you can kind of just land in the optimal position right behind him. If you go forward like this, on offense, you can kind of just land right up here. On defense, another thing you can do is just land right over here or blast anybody off. It is a bit of a slow jump, so just keep in mind, like, you're going to be kind of losing momentum the longer you go. One of my favorites is just to land, like, right around that area, though. I'll focus more on that on the payload side of things, though. Let's just view it from more of a manpower point of view. See there, that's a pretty effective rollout right there. It puts you in a really good spot. Another thing you can do is just jump over to here. Then from there you can do something like... not that. Wrong movement key. A backwards jetpack jump. You get a large amount of options for commitment here. You can kind of try and weasel your way in from the flank, jump down here, try and catch anybody off guard around this house area, or so maybe a sniper. You can try and jump all the way over to a flank like this. You can jump right into a house. And then what you just want to sort of do is use all of this air time to, like, curve your way over and just land right behind people. Again, it's like your dive bomber, yeah? You just land right behind them and get the critical backburns, and that's how you're going to be using it most effectively. I would say this was definitely an A tier map, yeah. That being said, in Manpower, you're going to get a lot of use out of your grappling hook as well, and it's not going to be as necessarily focused on the jetpack. But I think a lot of the same design philosophy goes from the grappling hook to the jetpack. It's like, oh, this would be good for the grappling hook, so by proxy it's also going to be pretty good for the jetpack. But then on something like Gorge, you just don't have enough verticality to make use out of it. It's too much like a lobby fight. But you can see, it's a quite good map for it. Moving on to Doomsday. SD Doomsday. Now, if I recall correctly, I usually found Doomsday pretty fun to do, but let's just get some visualizations going here. You do have a wide assortment of angles over here. You have a very fast rollout. If people are on the ramp, what you can do is you can kind of just like jetpack in. I think this is probably what I would do here. So you get one jump up to here, and then you just go right in and above. You can air blast them off the point. You can kind of land on them from behind. You can try and commit from above here if you go around like one of these flank angles, and then if you get knocked off, you can kind of just like recommit from below, or you could do like a little bit of a trebuchet jump like this, just land high and above onto it. Then you can kind of just completely cross the map again. You know, usually you won't have infinite jetpack jumps, but 2 jetpack jumps is usually enough to pretty much just get you around wherever you want to go. Another fun one you can do is just go right out of these pits over here, land behind snipers that like to cluster around here. That being said, I don't think there's enough cover for this map to really shine with the jetpack. I think you're going to be finding yourself a little bit too exposed still. For that reason, I'm going to be giving it, I think, a low B or a high C tier. Really, for jetpack to shine, you need to have a bit more length to the map. Here, it's just like everybody's gonna be taking the same fight, so a decent bit of the time, like, you might be able to just like flank people or catch them off guard, but if your team isn't putting out like a surface level of pressure enough, then you're just gonna find yourself being caught out on these jumps here. That being said, I've seen much worse, so let's slot it below Hellfire. Actually, right above Hellfire for now. Next up, we have Player Destruction Watergate. If you're wondering about the little background noises, I am a little bit sick at the moment, but I have content to make. A grind set to fulfill, so I don't really care. Now going forward, this can be an interesting one, just trying to deal with any spawn campers. Let's say if they just have like a combo thing right here, so like a soldier medic, you can kind of just land like right around them, backburn them for a few seconds of crits. This is very, very fun for the jetpack. You have a lot of maneuverability around here, a lot of little perches to land on. Honestly, that's like one of the main good things for the jetpack, is just having cover to land on, like that, spots to base yourself off of, and just arc from. The arc is always the most important part of your jumps, minus the timing itself. But just being able to go right out the gate like that's fun. Being able to go all the way up here is fun. You can do something like this and just land super far and high behind. You can jump right up to the enemy's side. So you can see here, you just have a metric ton of options. And it's really good for just landing in here. I'd probably give this map a high A or an S tier. You can land like right next to the flankers here. I know on Capture the Flag you can actually jump with the jetpack with the intel. I'm 99% sure that it remains the same over here. And so if you're being chased, you can just land at a completely different sector of the map. Just secure your team some vital points for the future, you know. Keep your team from losing, just keep the chase going on. Now, one that you might be able to do, yes, you can definitely do this. Okay, this map is an S tier, no doubt. Look at all that reach. You're just a terror of the skies, no doubt about it. So Watergate, that's gonna be the first S tier. Now Snowplow, that's an interesting map. Timescale. There's a certain command for timescale. Let's see. Increase the cap rate. Host timescale? Yeah, okay. I'll go ahead and deal with that in a little bit. Just speed through the setup time here. There's probably a command for dealing with it, but I don't remember.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. Mission one.
So start off with, you have the first attack here. Now an interesting one for this is just landing right there, just like that, landing right on the flank here, just being able to completely backburn anybody around this general area. I'd say that's pretty effective, typically speaking. I'd say that's your biggest one for first, definitely. On the defensive side of things, you don't really have that many good options. You can try and land like far behind as they're pushing up the flank if you're not getting aggressed upon this side here. A bit of a weak point though, I'd say. Let's move on to second now. Now, you're usually going to see 2 to 3 sentry guns around this point, so I'm inclined to say jetpack is going to be pretty weak here. Sentry guns are usually going to be your worst enemy. But one thing you can do, if they don't have a ton of sentry guns watching, is just go far, far behind, just like this. Land right behind, backburn any people around this area, come up behind this house. This is what I would usually recommend doing for casual on Snowplow, although it is a pretty rare map, admittedly. Now this house over here, you just don't use jetpack here. Going into last, again, it's like a case of if they don't have sentry guns, you're gonna have a very fun time. You can land like right behind their spawn here, or if their sentry gun doesn't have that much reach, like if it's in this lower area, or it's being distracted, then you can land pretty well behind it. And that'll put you in a pretty good position. On the defensive side of things, you can kind of just land on that roof and then just jump up to there, or just land right on here. Then you can kind of aggress through this drop down. You can jump up through this drop down if you don't want to cross the height. And then you're kind of in a really good spot to deal with, like, snipers especially, I'd reckon. Yeah, maybe a teleporter or any projectile spamming from up here. Honestly, though, the main thing you'd probably see is a sniper. On offense, something that can be fun to do, though, is just to do something like this. Honestly, though, I'd argue it's a very weak map for the jetpack. Let me back to the right tab. I think this would be a D tier. Oh wait, Snowball has multiple stages, fuck. Stop the video! Nothing sometimes scale can't change. Now, I debated between just segmenting it all and doing it all in one sitting like this, but I feel like with this concept, it's just much more powerful in all honesty if I do it all at once. You know, it's like a marathon. It really says something. I feel like it has a genuine feeling to it that wouldn't be captured if I did it all segmented and only did the perfect takes. Now, second here. Again, interesting jumps, low cover though, and if they have sentry guns, your day is basically ruined. I'm inclined to mostly maintain my opinion though, at least if this point's anything to go off of. I do think second, this cap is actually really good for it though. I don't think it necessarily brings it up a tier though, but just looking at this, you have a lot of space over here to just land completely behind it. On either side, you can just like do a slightly lower jump here, then jump over there. Okay, yeah, this point alone, I'd say brings it up, like, or prevents it from falling a tier at least. You see just all the options you have for jumping over here. Yeah. I don't know if you can jump. Yeah, it's a bit of a buzzkill over there. It's like, in a certain timeline, you'd be able to jump through that, and you would be having a very fun time with that jump. You'd just be able to like land way behind any snipers or defenders over there. I feel like that'd be a really cool piece of technique, but Valve is just sort of like, you can't have your fun. I think it maybe is a C tier. Honestly, probably a D tier though, too contingent on things. I don't think 1 point is enough to salvage it. Yeah. The main thing you gotta remember with snowplow is that you need a lot of consistent pressure. You can't just always back up and instantly win it. You have to keep in mind the health of your vehicle, which means that you're gonna need consistency, and the jetpack on those settings just isn't gonna give you much contingency. Consistency rather. Now Hydro, interesting map. I feel like I'm gonna have a very split opinion on the jetpack here. You can see you have a pretty good jetpack all around for that point there. Going in, you have a very large amount of room to land, but you do get skyboxed there, and that's a bit of a buzzkill. It definitely is an earlier TF2 map, and there just isn't much cover around. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that this part of it in specific is pretty weak. You kind of just clip your head, it really is a buzzkill. Moving on. Let's see what you can do around here. You have no jumping options around here. You have some around here. I guess if you came in from, like, over here and just walked up, this could be okay. Then you just try and land, like, let's say, far over here. This could be a decent point for it if you get that jump right. I don't think you can land on the middle. Oh, you can, actually. Okay, so that's pretty decent. You could try and jump in, like, right below into it. That being said, you're not going to get that much value off of those jumps. I think the main value to be found here is in these sorts of, like, long jumps around the dome and just completely landing on a flank. But I don't know if you really have enough, like, air time to truly accomplish that. Okay, you do, yeah. So I'd say that's a pretty good jump right there. I don't like most of the other jumps on this point there, though. I feel like this is kind of just a case of, like, it's an older TF2 map, yeah. Very, very old. Also a bit of a weird game mode. I do think there'll typically be a lot of chaos, and I think maybe you could put that to use. Let's go and see what we have going on down here. I don't think this is going to be very good for it, though. No, not at all. There is just nowhere to jump here. I forget if the red side, I believe they do have a bit of a different angle for pushing in. I'll just be thorough and check it out. Oh god, too fast. Too fast, too furious. Ah, yeah, right, it is a bit randomized, but that point they're honestly very mediocre for the jetpack anyways. Again, you just don't have enough potential with any of your jumps. You're not going to be accomplishing much besides, I think, this point specific, and again, you clip your head on those. That would be a really promising jump, just diving in from way above, but Valve says no, so you kind of just get fucked, yeah. Now, this upper area could be interesting, yeah, you see a bit of the randomization here, but again, you just don't have enough height, and everybody's gonna kind of be seeing anything anyways to really realize your true potential. I think honestly this could be an E or an F tier. Going in, you kind of have the same issue on this last. You just never have the opportunity to realize verticality here. So Hydro, unfortunately, I love the map, but it's gonna be an F tier. I just can't respect it. Pains me to say that though. It is a really fun map. Now, Koth probed. Invasion update. I remember having a pretty good time on this map, wasn't my jetpack phase then. but you do see a pretty fair jump to start off with there. I do think you get pretty fair jumps around here. Oh yeah, definitely. Look at this curve. Now I kind of hugged the wall there too much. Let me go and try and demonstrate a more effective jump there. Look at the air time and velocity you get there, the sheer height. You get a lot of jumping, a lot of value from those jumps rather at that stage. That being said, again, it's kind of King of the Hill syndrome where everybody is going to be in that same exact spot. There aren't really going to be that many stragglers, so unless you have really good coordination, which is pretty hard to do with casual teams, then you're not going to be doing that greatly with it. You know, it's like you have to kind of wait for the pieces to fall into place. That being said, I really love these roofs here for the most part, and how they don't block you, I say, is they get blocked by roof. But on the other side of this one, you can just land completely behind people. I absolutely love that. I do love how you can just kind of initiate from any of these angles and just go completely into their sniper sides. I would say this is a B or maybe a lower end A tier map. I think I'll slot it in right here for now. Again, I just don't think there's going to be enough in the way of a distraction for it. I don't think I'm gonna go into that much depth on the MVM maps. I'll go and show you maybe like what some of the decent jumps look like, but what you have to remember is that robots are perfect players. They kind of just shoot things and hit them all the time. If for some reason you're just interested in the rollout, you can see a pretty fair one there, but again, you're not going to be impressing any of the robots with your jumps. You're just kind of going to be jumping like this, and then being bong, but you get shot and intercepted out of the sky, so it's honestly worthless. I'm just going to move all of the MVM maps over to this tier. Now, degroot keep, I don't know if you can, I don't believe you can use the jetpack, I don't believe it makes sense, but let's just be thorough. Maybe you can actually, I feel like I've seen pyres with it from time to time. No, you can't. Okay. Memory's just strong in that case. Instant F tier, sorry. Now 2-4, let's check 2-4 out. 2-4 is a pretty good one for it, just because a lot of people don't actually take the game that seriously here, and you can kind of just bully any snipers around. Now, an interesting thing is that I've heard a lot of friends talk about the jetpack, well not a lot of friends, but like a friend rather, which is kind of a friend more, that has previously talked about the jetpack in casual, talk about how it's good here, like you have that water jump there, but you just don't get enough verticality for it to be that useful, and if you do try and go in for a jump there on the bridge, you're going to be very exposed for the most part. I would say this is a very weak map for the jetpack. This is kind of the only area where it's going to be remotely useful, and even then, it's just not that good. I'd give this an E. It's just too reliant on that one jump. Now, payload race. Payload race is interesting. I think Nightfall for one is probably going to be pretty good for it. I don't know about Nightfall though. I usually get the two mixed up. As you can see here, there's some interesting initiation points for this part of the map in specific, but you're not going to really have your potential shine here. This would be much better suited to detonator, I'd reckon. You just don't go that high, you don't go that far.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. Mission 1.
Now for the middle point, I think you have a little bit more wiggle room here, but again, you just don't really have the time or opportunity to shine. You could land like right here though and just kind of camp, but a lot of this is just going to be rotating between flanks and camping, and that's just not really utilizing the jetpack in that case. You're just negating yourself, denying yourself from having an actual secondary. In that case, like if you're not getting value off of it. So I think unless like, the enemies are kind of just clustering around the spawn gates, and you're just trying to deny them that initial ground, that it's not going to be that useful, because everything has to center around this one choke point, which means if anybody looks directly up there, you're just dead. So I'd say pretty weak map, yeah. I'm actually going to move Gorge down one. I think Snowplow is an example of a D tier there. Now Banana Bay. Ooh, fun map, fun map. I think Banana Bay is a pretty strong map for the jetpack, relatively speaking. You have a lot of angles that you can just sort of, like, look at that curve there, that's what I'm talking about. That's like a perfect curve for a jump. You just land like all the way to the side and behind. You don't want to be going like necessarily directly behind people along a straight line. Like, let's take, I don't know, something like this. You want to be going around and behind, you don't want to just be going straight behind there, optimally speaking. It's a lot harder for the enemies to track you if you have some curve and technique to your jumps. And I think something like this is pretty fantastic. I think going all the way around here is very strong as well. And look at that! Look at that! That's a perfect jump right there. You just get such high velocity from tramping off that. I think easily an S tier map. If I recall correctly, it was added with the update. So I would hope that it would be designed around and good for it. Unfortunately, you can't jump up to there. Society isn't ready for it yet. But definite S tier. I might be inclined to move District up. No, Pipeline, I'm pretty sure, is a solid one. But let's just get a double check on this one.
Mission begins in 60 seconds. Mission begins in 60 seconds.
I'm kind of concerned that this is just gonna end up eating through all my hard drive space, but hopefully I can just speed through it and get it uploaded before then. No, I don't believe this was the one I was thinking of earlier.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. Mission 1.
No, not at all. This is a pretty weak map for it, all things considered. You just kind of run along a straight line. If you can't run along that straight line, you're just kind of done for. Yeah. Isn't really that much fancy jumping you can do. I mean, you can do this one. Let me actually take a look at the payload race maps and see if I'm misremembering something. Nightfall. Pipeline. Yes, I believe one of these is multi-staged. So let's go and see if I'm wrong on that one. Honestly, it could just be me misremembering it. But point being, at the very least, on this area, it's just not going to be that good. Yeah, it does have more errors. So that area is just kind of going to be awful. You're just all jumping along a straight lane. I think this one is a lot better for it. You will run into the issue of experiencing like at least 2 sentry guns though, 2 level 3s in your face, and that's not very ideal, but it could be worse, it could be worse.
Mission 1.
Now the middle section, let's get an idea of this. You all just kind of converge around here. This is absolutely horrendous for it. I believe, actually, there might be an upper road, unless I'm remembering it wrong. No. Yes, everything kind of just converges. Oh wait, no, over here. Everything kind of just converges around that one area, so that's pretty bad for it. There is some potential in the last points here, but you're just not going to really get that much value off of it. I'll do the time scale a bit more moderate this time. I believe the last segment is pretty good for it though, and that might bring the map a little bit up. If the tier list was a bit more advanced and had options for each stage, then I'd probably do it separately and have these be low tier, but it's whatever. You take what you can get. Now let's check this point out. Yes, this is the point I was thinking of. So there isn't that much cover, but there's just so much sheer verticality around here, and you can just sort of be flying all around. I'd call it pretty effective typically here, because there's just so many areas you can land at. Yeah. One thing I do want to double check though, I think I might have misremembered Pipeline a bit. Nightfall rather. I believe that one might be multi-staged. It's really hard to remember though, but you have a very large amount of good jetpack jumps here. I'd say it saves it from being awful, but I don't think you're going to get that much time to shine here, because most of it is just kind of going down a single lane. Suppose this is a bit of a downside of doing it all in one sitting besides the first one, but I feel like it has an appeal to it.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. Mission 1.
I feel like the peanut SCP right now just speeding around. Okay, yes, this one does have multiple stages, my bad. It's been such a long time since I've played PAYLOAD Race, honestly.
Mission 1.
Now this point, I think is a little more decent. I think it is a little bit of a wider open yard here. I don't think it's still going to be that strong though. I do think there's some potential for a last jump from that specific angle, probably one like over here as well. I'd reckon it's pretty decent at. So I'd say maybe this brings it up, but doesn't leave it in that strong of a state. It looks cool on paper, but I have doubts about the practicality of most of those. I think I'll do a more moderate time scale. Fuck. Lost the cart. Maybe a 7. Yeah, 7 seems fair enough for keeping on pace. And then one more. I honestly really loathe the PAYLOAD Race section. Feels really tedious to record. Last and specific though is why I wanted to do this. I thought this was Pipeline's last. They do look fairly similar though, a little bit, but you'll see you have a very wide open yard area around here. A lot of areas you can initiate a jump from, a lot of areas you can jump to. I say missing that one, I misremembered that, I guess. Overall though, I'd say it's a pretty viable point for it. Just be aware that you're not going to have that much cover. The main thing is just trying to capitalize off of opportune moments, yeah, but again, that's kind of just the weapon in general, I believe. Yep, you can jump across those fences over there. Pretty effective. Not bad, not bad. I don't think it really saves the map, though, but I think it probably moves it up a tier over Pipeline, as long as you go for, like, shorter jumps on the other points. I think it's a bit of a wider angle, a bit healthier for your jumping curves. You know, you can go like so wide around these areas and just land right behind people. So honestly, it's pretty fair. High tower now. Always an interesting one. Bit of a casual signature. I'd say it's pretty good for high tower. Right, setup time, whatever, it doesn't matter, it's almost over.
2, 1.
So this is a pretty good one to begin with. You can kind of just air blast any soldiers off here. If there's any snipers around here, you can land right behind them. You can also just hit one of these, make sure you do some strafing and throttle your mouse a little bit so you can kind of like throw the snipers off. You can land on the side, hit anybody over here. You can do something like this and land right above cart. That's honestly really devastating. Or you can use the momentum from your air blast to land and just shove anybody off. I would say this map is a solid A tier. I don't think there's enough distance between angles for the jetpack to truly shine here. But when it comes to the curves, it definitely has it covered. You just gotta be careful of, like, when you jump. You gotta be watching out for the heavies, for the guns, for the snipers, you know? But you definitely have a lot of options. I'd say it's a pretty strong A tier, though, for sure. Payload, fuck. Multi-staged. Now, Thunder Mountain, definitely one of my favorite maps for the jetpack.
Pyro, calling here. I need something done. Quietly.
I could do a higher skill time skip, whatever, I don't really need it for defense. I guess I could just bind it if I really wanted to. Yeah, that probably would have been a lot better in hindsight, but I've already kind of covered most of these, but that's a really good one that you can do. On offense, wrong move. Disregard that. Something interesting you can do is like just try and go up to here, then all the way around here, but do watch out for the guns. It does take really good care out of any snipers though. You can land like right here, shove anybody off. You can jump right up here, so it's like you already have like so many good options on both teams for jumping in. You can even do like a backwards jetpack jump, just land like far behind cart over there. I would say it's pretty good. I think it loses a lot of effectiveness, not right around here, but around this area for last. Usually you're gonna see in a pub like sentry guns and heavies. On the defensive side it is very potent, because you can just land right behind the cart with that jump. Overall, I'd say it's a pretty strong map for it, pretty strong point. But it is held back by the buildings. I guess I could do scout at this point, whatever. Don't necessarily mind having this downtime, gives me a bit of time to compile my thoughts. But I definitely do like jumping in from above there and just landing like far behind, or on the defensive side doing the other way around and just landing in. One interesting thing you can do actually before we forget is one of these, and then you just land right in the house next to the snipers. On offense, if you try and jump in from there, you're just gonna get gunned. One thing you can do is try and use this as a staging ground from your jump on offense, but again, you're just gonna be running right into the enemy team, so it's hard to recommend it. Moving on to second. Going offense so I can spawn initially. I'll actually bind it at this point. Let's go with... Never mind, you can't bind these keys. Fuck. Whatever. Okay. I will carry on. So, attacking last tier, very, very, very strong point for the jetpack. I cannot understate that enough. You have so much room to just fly in from above while everybody else is looking at one of these two choke points. You can land like far behind like this. On the defensive side, you can jump right up through here. One of my favorite ones to do in casual is to just jump right up through here. People don't really tend to expect it. But basically anywhere there are enemies at, you can just sort of jump right to, I think... Did I actually flip on that roof? Yeah, look at that. This is a pretty sick one to do as well. But one of the main ones definitely for the defensive side is just landing right in through the air. Or if you could get some space through main, another one you can do is just jumping up onto their aggressive players like this. It can be a little bit tricky because it's a narrow clipping, but it's pretty effective, I would say. And then another really good one you could do on defense is like that. But basically this entire area is just your playground. and it's definitely a fun area. First, it can be good for it, but keep in mind all this water over here in these narrow lanes. It really just depends on how well your team can keep spamming the enemy team down. It's not the worst point for it, but it's not the best. I would say that it is overall, like, kind of brought up by the other strong areas of this map, though. One interesting one you can do is like that. You can also just try and land, like, on one of these fences for a little bit. I would definitely say just trying to get in one of these houses, though, and then going behind like that with just a chain jump is very good. And then what you'll do from there is just land behind the enemy team in main and backburn, like, usually something like 2 to 5 players. I'd say probably, like, get onto the log, and then go in from there. Can stop up there for a little bit if you need to. There's health and ammo right there, and then that's pretty good. You don't really want to be going in from the flank here because it's a very narrow lane. They're all going to be looking at the same area, so it's like, just use your own caution and best judgment for that, I'd definitely say. Yeah, sure, I'll just go scout for the extra cap speed. Now last, though, last is a very interesting specimen. Not last, like the last map set, that is. And I don't need to cap at this point. So look at this, right off the bat, instant rollout, land right there. Offensive side, land right up here, just land completely above, behind enemy players. On the defensive side, offensive side and defensive, actually, one of my favorites is just to land here. Usually they all be like a sniper, a soldier, a demo man. On the defensive side, what I meant to say is, like, landing right behind there is very effective. You can also just completely use this entire area as your playground. You can get onto the roof here, I believe, yep. And then what you can do is use this as cover and land completely on and behind the fence and insta-backburn and kill any enemy players. Fuck. Another really good one to do, though, is just to jump in right over here. Like I said, it's dive bomb heaven over here. It's like Overwatch. And then this entire area, just yours to do whatever you want with. You have complete freedom. You can do any sorts of jumps you want. You can even land up here. Can't quite land over there at that little yard. That'd be funny. But very strong point. Really allows you to utilize your movement techniques. There's a lot of areas you can surf at, a lot of areas that you can disengage from. Even doing something like this is good. And then you just, like, can completely nullify anybody over here. Like I said, this map is heaven. I love it. One thing to keep in mind, though, this area, don't go into this unless you're just chasing anybody. Have your expectations be low. Your entire goal here is just to run in, maybe you have a medic on you or so, and just try and backburn a few players. You're not using jetpack there, though. Now, let's see. There is an area over here, and this is good for traditional flanking, but the detonator is usually your better bet here. The jetpack can be good around here in specific, just kind of like landing in from odd angles, landing behind or above, going from roof to roof, really. But, like I said, you just want to be bullying people out in that yard area 90% of the time, and then just rotating in one of the two houses, occasionally as a flank. Overall, though, fantastic map. Actually, just one of my favorites. I definitely say Payload tends to take the cake for jetpack maps. I'd say second up would probably be something like Koth or 5CP, then attack defense. I'm not really going to include other modes in the ranking because they're not relevant. Sorry, fans of, I guess Manpower. Pretty much everything is a jetpack there, though. Yeah. Enclosure, again, it was a map made with the update, later map made pretty strong for the most part. You can land around these areas and just completely flank. This area leads back up to over there, as you can see. Jetpack backwards jumps are always fun. You don't really want to be going along these little interior areas, but once it gets to the full last area, you're in a pretty good spot. Pretty good shape, I'd reckon, yeah. Just go right over here, and then again you can land in those windows and then collapse from above. I think that's honestly going to be your most effective jump for last. But on the attacking side, you can kind of do something like that. You can do something like this as well and just land on one of the flanks. This is actually probably a better one because it puts you in a great spot for anything. And you can just like collapse from any of those angles. First is pretty effective for it, just because there's like a lot of little cover around here. A few things that can kind of just obstruct you. This can be a good staging point, but you don't get that high velocity. It's not a great spot to start from on, like, in itself, but it does give good cover and concealment, and that's one of the main values you want to be looking at. The more the enemy team sees you, the better of an idea they'll have that you're going for a jump, and the more they'll do to counter it. These palm trees are very interesting. Not palm trees, I don't know, tropical trees are cool. This is going to be a pretty good area for it. I am a pretty big fan. It's not as strong though. No. Not strongest map by far. I think honestly Pyro is easier to cap with just because of like the movement speed. Scout was just a bit too much. Can probably take it up to 9. Pretty able to just keep up with the critter along this linear path, yeah. Keep in mind, this is all like in a casual mindset, but it like a decent bit can kind of flying competitive as well, but these also aren't really the most competitive maps, so yeah.
Mission begins in 30 seconds.
If I do recall, I like Last Fruit as well. I'd honestly probably give this map an A tier. I don't think any of the maps are like egregiously strong for the jumps, but you do usually have a lot of options, which is good. I just don't think they're necessarily going to be winning ones as much. That one would be cool, but you get kind of clipped on the head. Yeah, tree has a very large block range. Over from here can be pretty fantastic though. Maybe this could be an S tier map. And you're just kind of jumping around from perch to perch, ledge to ledge. On the offensive side, you can just kind of do something like this, land wide, hit anybody around there. You can kind of just like do one of these, land far behind. Let's see. I could also jump up to this ledge. Basically, you just have a lot of like little flank angles to commit from, and that's pretty effective. Do you think I'll take a sip of water real quick? Someone been talking endlessly. Going for the offensive side here. Not quite there. But one from here is pretty damn effective. You do get clipped by the roof, but you do land relatively far enough. It would be a lot cooler if you didn't get clipped by, I believe that'd be the tree there, or maybe that was the skybox as a whole. Yeah, the tree in specific there. Okay, so if you take it a little wide, you delay it a little bit, they can mostly bypass the tree. You have pretty good commitment options here. You can go in from like lower and try and land behind this fence and back grenade by around here. Clear out the trenches like it's World War I, you know? But again, it's nothing that impressive. It's just that you always have a decent few options, I think. But I think a lot of the time it's going to be more suited towards like traditional flanks besides the offensive side. I don't think your defensive jumps are going to be that impressive. But I don't know. I have like half a mind on it. Probably depends on like what the other maps are like.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. I
wouldn't say last is not that good for the jetpack.
Mission begins in 10 seconds.
This point is decent for it. You have a lot of room to curve from. Yeah, I think A tier is the right play here. A lot of options around here. I wouldn't say there's really that many bad jumps. This is also pretty interesting. But just to me at least, none of them stand out quite as much. I mean, I guess the question is, like, what defines an S tier? I would say, like, the effectiveness of the jumps. I think a lot of these are good, I just don't think they necessarily are that effective on their own. I think cumulatively they're definitely good, though. I'm very split on it. I'll move it to the next map and deliberate on it. It's definitely either at the top of A tier, though, or at S tier. Barn Blitz. Very half and half map. You'll see what I mean. So, initial good jumps. These. I love those. This is a really fun jump to do. You just kind of land like far in, just right onto the cart. This one, it's not that good. You're going not that high up of an altitude, not that much velocity. The enemy team's just gonna shoot you out of the sky. This one has grown on me. You just kind of curve around and go like high and try and land on anybody over there. If you go a little bit further away, though, you land a bit closer into them. The main idea here is just to kind of chaos them. You're not gonna be backburning them in that case, but you're just gonna be like stuffing their Uber if you're on stock flamethrower, or just like kind of cleaning up any players that are Uber there, generally just being a hassle to them. I would say that those are the main jumps for this point. Other ones aren't going to be that effective. The main thing is the defensive jumps for sure. Offense, I think your best bet is one of these, and just try and land right onto the gun, try and kill the NG. A lot of the time you can like reflect kill them with the rockets from a sentry gun, as long as there aren't like heavies or other classes around to shoot you midair there. I would say another good offensive choice would be just kind of like, while rolling out like this, just trying to land like around the rocks here, collecting anybody here if their team's doing the bush strat. Now second is where it becomes interesting. It doesn't look that high on paper, but purely because of this fence and the covering it off to you, it makes a really good staging point, and you can just land from a multitude of angles from this one jump. You can go in like far behind here and just basically terrorize any players in the yard. I would definitely say that adds to the value of it. That's first, I'm done. Second itself, this is a very, very effective jump. You can do this one with the detonator, but with jetpack you can do it like from a lot longer of a distance away. It's much safer to do, and you'll be at full HP, but again, that one's mediocre. This is the main reason to do the jetpack. Right up through here, boom. You land right behind enemies, you backburn them while they're trying to spam your gun. Very, very effective. I give that one a thumbs up. 8 out of 10 IGN. If you have a quick fix medic, some of the time they'll be able to jump up through that with you, and you can just control that entire area of the map and just have a good time there. That being said, it's kind of hard to get the quick fix jump off. This can be good if they don't have guns or heavies around. The main thing, though, by far for Barn Blitz is third. This really supports the dive bombing. See here, you have a lot of interesting jumps. I think if you go in from a lower angle, you probably have higher odds of that one, but let me justify myself, yeah. For this one, you want to be going in from here, though, for sure, but I'm just showing it that, like, you can have a very consistent movement flow. One of my favorite ones to do, definitely this one. Check this one out. You go like super high and far above. You can Goomba snipers or players on the pack, land right behind them and backburn them. Very effective. Another good one to do is just jumping right up to here, and then from here you can jump far behind, land right behind enemies over here. I'd say Barn Blitz is probably a B or an A, tentatively speaking. You can land here on defense to clear out snipers up top, and then you can go in even farther and land right here. Honestly, that's a fantastic jump. I really like that one. Offense, you can do something like that. When you're pushing in 2/3 initially, you can try and land up here. You can jump past here. It all depends on if the enemies have sentry guns or not, but all of these jumps, like, they basically give you the perfect arc to just naturally coast into your backburner flames. You kind of, like, landing where centers of enemies would be. So I'd say it's pretty recommendable, honestly, for this point. It's just unmatched. Another really fun thing to do is once this door opens just completely, you roll around this area, landing from one of those angles. Now last, it really kills it though. You can jump up here, land on the flank over here, and try and deal with enemies up here, but you don't have enough ammo. Even if you're really good at air blasting, you only have 4 air blasts. If they have any hit scan, you're dead there. The main reason you do this one is to go further behind them and try and jump like so. It's a bit of an odd jump to do, but probably something like this is better actually, like, but you do have a lot of technique that you can do from that. It's just you're not gonna have that high of a velocity, so if any enemies are watching this choke point, you're in for a bit of trouble. But usually what it'll be like is like they're having some pressure from main, so you can kind of just stand right behind them and backburn everybody on the cart. That's one of the reasons why payload is so good. Now, a pretty effective one you can do is just jump right up here. It's very hard for the enemies to react to. An interesting one you can do is just something like this. Land right up here, try and take care of the nest. I usually prefer to go in from main, though, for that one. A bit less of a stagger. Although you do almost clip your head. Another interesting one you can do is just like that. That's honestly my favorite one to do at that stage, though. But you're very limited to your options here. A lot of it's very close in combat, so you're kind of just hoping for a lucky flank, and that's about it. I would say top of the B tier, not quite A tier.
Mission end.
I do want to check on the storage space. This one's using 9 gigs. Okay, yeah, we'll be good. It's a bit of a chunky video, but I have enough storage space. Yes, I will have to upload it very fast though. Fuck. Okay, Frontier. Very fun map. Very, very fun map for it. Let me demonstrate why. Show you rather than tell you. Roll out. Bing. Bong. You're there. Offense. Check this out. Check this out. Land here. Deal with any enemies around here, any people camping on the other side. If you go a little bit higher, you can just kind of completely cross areas. This is a really interesting one. Usually you'll see guns around here though, so you'll die, but it is pretty funny to do. One that usually is pretty effective though is coming out like one of these 2 spawns, and then just landing a little bit behind the flank so you can backburn any enemies initially on it. I have a really hard time saying that sentence. One that can be pretty effective, assuming they don't have guns, is like just that, but a general rule of thumb for Frontier, especially, but also just most payloads, is to expect engineers. I would say just like committing from this angle is usually pretty effective. You don't really need the jetpack for that though, but where the jetpack starts to shine is going into 2nd and 3rd. One big issue with it though is that you get clipped by the skybox, so what you have to do is kind of aim for like a middle. And so what you want to do is just go down this lane and backburn any enemies on the lane. And that's usually pretty effective. They don't expect that due to the stairs. They're not going to be able to see you that effectively. You usually don't want to do it from this house just because it's really easy to accidentally look up a little bit too much and just clobber your head against the wall. I'd say usually what you want to do is something like this. And then it gives you like the perfect momentum for it. But if you try and go like and land directly on top, then you just get clobbered down into the ground, so it doesn't really work out well. This is a pretty fun one as well, but it's another issue of if you look up slightly too much, your entire jump just kind of goes to waste. You see you get clipped a little bit there at the top, not too much though, but then if you try and go in at the very top, your jump gets ruined. So that is a bit of a buzzkill, but I don't think it's enough to ruin it. A very, very good one though, a little bit too high there, my apologies. Tends to be something like this. and then you just land like right next to their entire team, their entire spawn. Pretty effective. Jumping around the flanks, you can be good. You can jump in up here if you have trouble with the other angle. You have to get a little bit of a better jump than that though, so that can be pretty fun to do. You can jump in from the side over here. People don't expect a pirate to just land. This is another fun one to do, just land right around here. But basically, a lot of good options. Where it really shines though, is right here, and oh yeah, I will show you why. Check this out, right? Let's say you're red rolling out. Alright, watch this. One jump, boom. Another jump. Look at this. You Goomba any player right here, basically insta-kill him. That is such a high and far jump, nobody knows how to deal with it. Another really good one that you can do from the same exact spot. Look at this, look at this. Look at this curve. Air blast. Their medics die. They drop Uber. They can't. So, for these jumps alone, the map is much, much better, but you can also just kind of try and land along the bridge. If you have a quick fix medic with you, you're kind of just a menace all around. You can kind of like help with the flank over here. On the offensive side of things, you can land, kill their snipers, and any people camping up here. Very effective. Another really effective one. All the way from there. On the offensive side, there's going to be a nest around here like every 1 to 2 games, and you just land right behind it. The engineer is going to be body blocking his sentry gun. The sentry gun's going to be like right here. The engineer is going to be behind it with a dispenser. The engineer dies to backburner. You probably don't kill the gun, but you can still your team. Oh, their engineer's dead. If they have a tele or any medics or enemy players there, they kind of insta-die to backburner as well. Very effective. If you don't have issues with that though, you can just kind of go further in like that. This is where it quickly loses steam though. Your options are this. Or you can try and do something like this, but it's very hard to get the clipping right and it's all down the same lane, so it's not going to be very effective. One interesting thing you can do on defense though, go onto this roof and just go far in like that. You do get kind of clipped, it looks like though. Let's just double check that one, make sure it's not human error, gotta be diligent. Yeah, that's very odd, you get clipped right there. So that nullifies the potential of defensive jumps. Onto last though. As long as they don't have sentry guns up, or like your team is pressuring, it's very fun for it. You can just kind of keep jumping around this entire area. You have a lot of mobility here. Like, a lot. You can land right behind here on the flank. You can try and commit from lower. Let me just showcase that real quick. I said, let me just showcase that real quick. And then you land, like, just right behind him. That's a pretty good one, honestly. Nice curve. But, it tends to be very hard for enemies to deal with. You can also just try and, like, go into, like, a slightly lower area like that from below. But usually you just want to keep constantly curving around and landing on flanks and right behind enemies. On the defensive side, that's a pretty effective one. On the offensive side, I really like landing right behind here and just backburning the guaranteed 1 to 2 enemy soldiers. If their guns are angled or like distracted, doing this just land right on top of them backburn the engineer can be pretty effective. Basically, you have a lot of really high impact options. I think I will give Frontier the S tier. Oh hey, it rhymes. Say it's probably right around there. It's one of my favorite maps for it. MVM. Let me just clear out the rest of the MVMs actually, that'll make my life a little bit easier. Timberton, Big Rock. I could showcase a little bit of jetpack movement technique for those maps, but I don't think it's just going to be that worth it. It's just you don't want to be running those weapons for it anyways. Coal Town. This will save me some time in the future. I believe that's all of them. No, Snowy Coast. This is one of the most fun maps, I'd say, for it. You'll see why.
Mission
starting off the bat here, you can already see the potential bing bong. If there's any enemies on the flank, I still double segment, then you have a very good spot for dealing with them. You can just land right over here, aggress on enemies on that flank. Another funny one you can do though, this one is much less foretelling. Like, they can't get as good of a read on you because they physically can't see you as doing like that. This is another really high impact fun one, but mainly it's just like being able to jump around like that. Impressive technique. On the defensive side, look at this. Look at that angling that right onto the cart. You're gonna be facing forward, pushing the cart. They're not looking back at their own spawn. If they turn to deal with you, your players walk forward. This is another interesting one, kind of same general concept. These fences make for very good cover and allow for great initiation points. Boom. Like that again. On the offensive side, there's always going to be guns, so you're not gonna have much luck. But if you're able to get a sap on the gun, then you just land right here, kind of right behind any enemies. You can do the same from the flank. It's basically the reverse of the other jumps. Something you can try and do is just cut right across the flanks, or like cross between the fences and land behind enemies on the flank over here, and that's pretty effective. Going in, you have some good options. You can do this and land right on the roofs. Then from the roofs, what you can do is just go far and above, land right on the nests or any enemies over there. Even if you don't want to be fancy like that, you can do stuff like backwards jumps, land right at enemies. It's basically your playground. Quite wonderful. Unfortunately, this point, awful for it. The only decent jetpack jump right over here is this one. You land from the flank as they try and bowl down this lane. You have people distract them around here, and you land behind them. Pretty effective. This one, very bad for jetpack as well. Probably prevents no because from being S tier, actually. So this one can be good. You just land on the flank with the jetpack on defense, and you can just walk through here, and you can kill any enemies just looking that towards cart there, basically. Last, pretty good for jetpack. You can land behind them on the flank with that rollout as you come out of the tunnel. That way you don't have to walk right into them. They don't expect you going all the way around. If there's enemies over here or on defense, you can jump over like that. You can jump onto the screen and then go all the way around like this. Land right behind the enemies over here. You can jump between these fences. You can jump right over to here, go for a high bomb, wait for them to pass a little bit. Camp on this lamp. I think you can. Look like it. No? The wall, okay. Hold on. You can kind of stick up there for a second. But the main thing is, you just have a lot of options for committing here. Quite effective, really. You do one like this. You can do something like this from the rollout, and then land right on their flank. You can air blast card off really easily as either side, like boom. You can try and aggress from over here if you can get behind a little bit on offense, and then just going right through there. It's like, basically, there's just so many options for commitments. I think the map is an A tier easily. I would say S tier, but this whole tunnel area exists. So unfortunately, A tier, B tier, I'd say... I think it's a B tier, actually, if Barn Blitz is B tier. I do think it's better than it, though. I think the consistency is an important thing for it. I think I'll move Foundry down a bit, though. I think I overestimated it. Hellfire I'll move down. Yeah, actually I'm gonna move the manpower ones down a little bit. Here's my reasoning, right? They're interesting on paper, well, some of them, but you have a grappling hook already, so... And I still want to include them as a rank, just because you have a difference between these ones, kind of. But it's all relative. Make of it what you will. See, I'm not sure, like, I think there's an argument to be made to moving Snowy Coast and Barn Blitz up. I'm just not sure if your experience is going to be consistent enough to justify it, considering the points where the jetpack's kind of just invalidated. It's a bit of a quandary. Yeah. I think that's about all I can say on the matter for now until we have more to work from. Swiftwater, this map also kind of pains me. I love the map, but it's very half and half for the jetpack. Second here, even competitive, absolutely fantastic. You don't have a teleporter up, you just roll out right to there. On the defensive side, you can land right in the side through here during a combo exchange. If you go a little bit lower, that is. For sure. You can land all the way over here. You basically just have a lot of high impact, high arc jumps that you can commit to like this. Just jump all the way around. The main thing is just the initial rollout though, for sure, and committing to an upper fight. You're not going to be that effective unless you're going for like a high dive and the enemies are walking forward. Tunnel, you don't do anything. First, pretty good for it, but also at the same time, first is usually like not held for that long, but a high impact thing you can do is just have a spy sap going for a back run around there. You can try and jump up, let's say, you can probably be protected around here from the gun, and then try and like jump in further behind. Maybe this fence, yeah, this fence is better for it, but it's very hard to land on it initially. You just kind of go behind there. Once you're behind there, you kind of just have a very nice angle to like deal with any snipers back here, but if they have a gun up, you're not getting behind, so it's like somewhat irrelevant. The main one for sure for first is just this fence jump though. On the defensive side, you can land on the roof from the side angles and just volley around roof, jump over roof like this. On offense, what you want to do is jump right up to here, and then jump all the way behind, land right here, backburn anybody at the mouth of tunnel. It's a very good angle for it. You can insta-reflect usually 2 to 3 people there. A bit of a noob trap jump for Pyre in this point is just to jump right over here and land at them from the front. If you're doing the jetpack, and you might as well be doing backburning, you might as well be landing behind them in that case. And usually if you have any other jumpers, they're going to be the ones landing in the front. So it's like you want multiple angles of aggression there. If you're feeling really like bothered by a particular sniper though, you can land even further back, try and deal with them around here. On defense, this can be pretty fun to do, just land all the way around and behind over here, but it is a pretty wide open sight line, so do it at your own risk. Attacking though, jumping around here can be pretty decent, but again, there's usually going to be like hit scan around this area, so do it at your own beware. But being able to kind of seize the enemy's high ground is very cool. Third, jumping in around like this can be pretty good. You can kind of like curve and dive. You usually don't want to jump right into them here, but you do get a bit of higher momentum, so it's up to you. Usually it'd be something like this, and then you just try and backburn them, but you get like a much cleaner, natural like curve if you go in from the other angle. Besides that, you can try and do something like this, and then just either land and lower up there. The main thing is the flank utility though, but you can do this with detonator anyways. You just jump right through there and then you land around up there. If I captured, I'd be able to showcase that better. One thing you can do is land around the pipes though. Oh, in a second. Forgot to touch on that. But the main thing here is just like, you can basically be a flank gremlin, but your direct jumps aren't going to be the most effective. You gotta want to be very patient, and if they have guns, you're basically dead. Like, honestly, you have some options, but they're not good options. But this one can be pretty good in Highland, or in general, like, you just kind of land right above there as you're pushing into third. But that being said, if at Highland, you wouldn't really have background around that point. So it's like a moot point. More so would be better for soldier. This is a pretty effective one. You land right in the fence. Try to not curve too much into that side though. On the defensive side, you land right there, kill enemies on the flank. Another interesting one you can do is something like this, and just land excuse me. Just land like right here or so, and then just walk in through here, kill snipers and enemies on the flank. You can walk through that window. I'm just on a little bit of a time limit here. This can be an interesting one from the flank. The biggest one for fourth, though, is just using this fence as cover, going in high, either into lobby or diving into them on the back of ramp, and then from lobby you just kind of walk all the way around from up or all the way around to here. On offense, this can be an interesting one if you're struggling with people. You just sort of like jump from the rock up to here, clear out the flank. On defense, this one isn't as good. Ooh, a little bit of surf there, but this one can be pretty effective and specific, or you can try and do the inverse of the other one that you do in offense and jump right over here and just clear out this entire region. It's a pretty effective one. I like doing that at the end of the round in Highlander if I'm on the loadout. Last, very weak for it, there's always going to be guns here. I'm not going to elaborate any further. And wow, right on time. Swiftwater C tier. Maybe D tier, but actually, yeah, D tier. A lot of the time, you're just not going to be able to do that many impressive things without upwards of 1-1. Sorry about that, was just texting my mother. Just get rid of this. Waiting for players' time. Setup time is fine. Upward is one I'm always really excited to see. I'll go over this one point by point though. So look at this one, yeah? Look at this one. Look at that curve over there. You land right behind, right in the prime position of backburner, air blast anybody. Another really interesting one you can use this rock as cover if you want to as well, but it does leave you with a bit less velocity, so I'm not sure I'd recommend it. But the main idea is you land along the slope here, and it puts enemies in a very weird spot, and they lose a lot of ground if they back up at all. So that's very effective. You usually don't get to use that one, but for bullets, that's good. Let's see. Ignore that. So this is always an interesting one. You just either land on either one of these two sides. You see the sheer map control you get with the jetpack though. This can be an interesting one. Just land far in the flank back, burn anybody around here. Don't believe you can land on playground typically from all the way back here. No, almost, but not quite. If you do it a little bit later, actually, maybe. Yeah, there's probably a world where you can do that one. I know I'm not going to waste more time on it, though. This can be a pretty effective one. If they have a gun around there or have, you're kind of dead. This one, though, look at this one. Look at the slickness of that. You just land, like, right between everything, basically. It's really good for chasing medics or, like, singular targets. That's an even better rendition of it. I wouldn't recommend jumping in from this side at all, like from the porch at all. I would just say, like, use that little cover, try and land around the flanks or playground or behind it. Pushing in, this is a pretty good one. Yeah. This one is more of a soldier jump, but in casual, you just land right behind the cart when it's around like the mouth of tunnel or so, and then you can just backburn everybody. Or you can try and curve it wider and land behind there, so pushing in, this is a pretty effective one. You just kind of land in their face. It is reliant on your team having people there, though. On defense, this is a very potent one. And you just land right behind them, perfect position to flank. You can also try and commit right from side tunnel, but it's not that great of an idea. It's more so like a spur of the moment sort of thing, yeah. I'd say those are the biggest ones by far. You can also just do like a little bit of a half angle like that one there where you're not fully committing to it from straight below, but it's not going to be as effective because you don't have full concealment. There's still a chance of you being spotted. This one, always fantastic. Perfect curve. If there's enemies peeking around there, you hit them. This is another really good option though from that. Careful not to clip your head, you land in the tunnel, it gives you some cover, and then from the tunnel what you do is you jump up, and you land right at their spawn. and that's free backburner kills. Alternatively, if there's people around catwalk, or like just kind of hovering around spawn, but you can kind of outpace them, or they're looking away for a little bit, you can just walk right through here with the power jack, backburn them there. This can be a pretty effective one. Either of these two from below. Pretty worth it, I'd say, yeah. Offense, there isn't much to say here. You can try and go in wide, but careful not to clip your head on any of these two. You have to like take it a bit wider, and then you can kind of get behind the enemies. The main thing is like you're just kind of going for a traditional flank here. Most of the time, you're gonna get gunned or sniped or heavied if you try to. No defense on the other hand. For this, I would recommend using stock flamethrower. For rare blast for like 8 or so, yeah. But what you do is you just go in like super high and wide, and then like you just air blast them off. I've been challenging myself to do jetpack backburner only, I've been able to really do it as effectively, but I probably have 1 or 2 of it in Highland or around, or just like showcases of the jump in general, and that always works out really well. Another fun one you can do is just land right around here. You can also just jump right into catwalk over here. All of these things are things you can kind of do with the detonator, but like jetpack gives you so much greater reach and momentum with it typically. The reach is the main thing. That's a really fun one to do. Then from there you can jump into there, or you can jump above and hold here, or you can jump behind over here, and you can basically just walk into any angle and then collapsing them from behind. What I usually like to do, especially in pubs, is just to like jetpack up to here from below, and then just like walk into their team from behind. It's pretty effective, and it's a lot less travel time, a lot less chance of being caught out than if you walk around the around U-turn and try and get through the lower parts. For last, it's decent, but everybody's gonna be watching these angles anyways once you get onto last itself. So it's like there needs to be a large amount of chaos in it, so it's not as good for something like Highlander, but in casual it's pretty viable, because there's usually a lot of chaos and you just want to land like high and backburn people like the engineers while they're distracted. Lots of interesting jumps. They're not necessarily that practical though, besides his rotations. Like that's a pretty slick one. That's not one you can do with the detonator. You can get into upper with the detonator, but less options for it. Another interesting one is just like right up here, and it's basically your playground. It's more oriented to casual though, definitely. I'd give Upward an S tier for sure. I usually end up playing Upward. Let's check the space. Yeah, properties. Doesn't show how long it is, whatever. Gold Rush. I'd say pretty mediocre for it. Now, with by saying mediocre, I mean like it can work out, but it's just not necessarily going to be that effective just due to the height. Well, not the height, but more so, well, I guess doing the height in a sense, but also just the amount of cover you're going to be seen with any of these. So it's like a moot point, I'd say. Yeah. Honestly, probably initiate it from over here, just try and jump all the way over to here. Yeah. On offense, you can do something like that to land behind them. You can also, like, try and go up from over here and try and get behind here, but they are all going to be watching it, and you also have to be a bit closer, so it's like I wouldn't really recommend that. It's basically a throwaway point for it, but in a pub, there's a lot of chaos, and you could probably just like land behind card a fair bit of the time with something like this. Yeah. Right around there as they're pushing in, distracted with other people. This is an interesting one. I say as I miss it. For defense, that's a good flank. For defense, this is a good jump. Same with offense if there's any enemies clustering around there. The main one, though, is going to be one of these. Lands you far behind, you land on top, nobody's going to be looking there that much. You just might get caught out from some players in main. But you get very high of a staging point and you land very far in. I believe this is multi-staged. For this, I'll actually just start doing the time scale and let it take it down. It's probably faster.
Mission ends in submission.
Wait, fuck.
Victor.
Right, you have to actually cap it. Change the plans.
Mission begins in 60 seconds. Mission begins. One.
I'm just doing offense. I'm gonna have to cap it anyways to fully showcase it. So for this can be an interesting one, but usually there are gonna be players watching it. I would say this could be an interesting one as well. It kind of lands you relatively behind, but the main issue is they're all gonna be looking at the same angles here, right? Like, you're gonna get caught. It's just a matter of when. On the defensive side, this could be an interesting rollout. I would say it's a lot better for defense here. You can kind of just land like far like that. You can also try and curve it around here, be a little fancy, and just like that. You can clip on the side of the rock, that's pretty cool. Pushing it a little bit, you can land like far behind like that, killing players around there, or cut the jump a little shorter, land there. This could be a decent staging point. The main thing is just, again, everybody's gonna be looking at the same angles, so take it with a grain of salt. Now for a last. Now it's becoming interesting here. Take a look at all this tech. Jump right up here. Jump right up here. Right up here. Right through here if you want as well. Right over here. Yeah, that's not clippable. Honestly, I'd say those are the main ones for last, but those give you a lot of options. You're not going to be using it to directly bomb, not at all. You're just using it for mobility here. You can, I guess, at this stage do it, but you don't have that much cover or like room to curve in. But the main thing is you're trying to like go in deep, so again, it's like a case of you're usually using it for mobility more so to bomb, but you do get a lot of mobility out of it. On the defensive side, I'd say it's a lot more valuable though, just because you can kind of like hassle their flank and instantly commit to it with a lot better resources than other classes. Like if it's a nest or so, not nest, like projectiles or so, you can just like land up there and reflect them, insta-kill snipers, whereas like a projectile class might struggle with counter projectiles. As long as there's like a telly up there and no sentry gun, you should be good, and that's usually going to be like the sort of case you find yourself in. The gun's going to be around main or so, providing value to the team. Like completely on the other side. Right, we're not finished yet. There is a small degree of humor found in the constant hammering. Clank.
Mission begins in 30. Mission 3, 2.
And for this one to last, so I can cover it now. Jump right over here as a rollout. This can be a very interesting jump like this, just land right behind. Bing bong. This can be an interesting one as well. Try and land like far behind. Another good one is this. You can do that from like a little bit more below. On the offensive side, you can do something like this, land on the flank here, or just try and go in like far behind. I'd say you usually want to do it from an angle like this. You get a little bit of cover, and then you just try and go like far behind their team. They look to deal with you, they're not looking at the rest of your team. You can try and do something a little more nuanced like this. And any momentum you get, like any enemies shooting at you from behind here, which is usually where the cluster will give you momentum, and there's a decent bit of a higher chance that you'll get just thrown in and live, I'd reckon. And then you just like get a pack around here, then you try and commit to the flank or so. Another interesting defensive one is just this, high bombing it. Bing bong, that's about it for first, I'd say. But you can do interesting mobility like that. Actually, one more one. This is a pretty good one. They never expect that one. You can jump up to their spawn like this, nothing impressive though. You can do that with a lot of different things. That's actually kind of hard with jetpack unless you look like straight in the middle. This can be interesting for it, just because you'll like land behind them, but that's kind of contingent on no enemies being actively there. It's like usually you can do that as you're initially pushing into third and just clamp like a few players, second, they're just sort of like sitting around. This can be an interesting one, just land over here and behind. This hypothetically can be as well, just kind of like land straight above them from a very short distance angle, but they're probably going to notice that. Last, it's fairly interesting on, you can kind of just land right above, but like, none of these are going to be that effective, honestly. And you can just sort of jump around like that. Once you cap second, this does open up, and this could be a very interesting defense flank, or a way to get out on offense, I'd definitely say. This could be very interesting of an area on offense, just landing right from below like this, a little bit further up, so you go right in. You have a decent few options, yeah. Pretty fun. You can also do the same with up here. And then from here you can try and land like just on any enemies forward and main. This could be an interesting as one as well. Just make sure there's no enemies here because you physically can't switch fast enough to your weapon unless you're using maybe degreaser, but it doesn't really synergize with the thermal thruster. There you can just sort of cling on to their backs. I think it's just another case of like old map syndrome where it doesn't really shine. D tier, yeah. I think D tier is probably gonna be where like a majority of like the older design maps are, where you just kind of land inside of enemies and like jump inside of them.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
Oh, that's another third stager. So this one, very good. Land right up here, harass any flank players. This one, very good as well. You just land right up here. Quite good. This is a throwaway point. You don't do anything with jetpack here. The most you can do is just something like this if they're a little bit distracted, but you get clipped by the ball. The main thing is you can kind of play pulling this lane as long as you have a distraction here. But again, that's a kind of high bar for casual. Now first, admittedly, is pretty good for it. There's usually a lot of chaos around here. You can just land around here. By pretty good, I mean pretty good at pubs. It's not actually that good at execution in paper. What I mean by that is, look at this guy over here. You just die, but in pubs, people aren't really that aware. You can just land around here or around here. So a lot of different interesting angles to initiate from, but none of them are good. None of them offer protection. Again, it's reliant on like enemies not looking up for like chaos to capitalize off of, but you can get pretty good reach. The main thing is just like trying to use the limited cover. Like that one's actually pretty fair because your initial jump is a little bit blocked. Yeah, but overall pretty weak. Would not recommend. I turned the time scale off there. My brain is becoming mush at this point.
Mission begin at 1.
This is also very weak for it. They're gonna have guns around, they're all gonna be watching this. It's pretty bad. You can try and be fancy with jumps like these. Go across the roof, actually, sure, why not? You can try and initiate with something like this, but again, they're all gonna be watching for it. Honestly, there just isn't any potential to be had here. You can try and go in from a flank like this, though. But you're better suited to detonator in that case. Yeah. None of this is really that jumpable. An area that is jumpable is around here. You can try and commit to like super high bombs from over here, but you get clipped by the roof. The main thing though, by it being jumpable, is just being able to jump like this. You can probably get there with the detonator anyways, though. Yeah, not too much else to be said for last. You can kind of try jumping over like this, land behind the pier, or go super far from here. This is probably the best jump that you can get off. But even then you get kind of clipped, so you're gonna die pretty fast once you land. But you just may be able to take a person or two with you. Overall, very weak though. The cart has a mind of its own. It's on the loose. Now this is actually a pretty interesting point for it. I found a lot more success for it than Gold Rush for the most part. Yeah, that's a pseudo. Mostly just because of the cover here. You can't go that high, but you can kind of just like land around. You do get decent mobility from it. Again, it's just like reliant on people pressuring though, but the main reason to run it here is just to be a total gremlin around this area. I've shown this off in streams, but from around this area you can just dive all around here. You can land on that little windowsill. You can land behind over here. Thank you, Lamp. You can land behind over here, deal with the Tellian nest. You can jump in from below, but a lot of jumpers can do that jump, so it's nothing impressive. You can go far over here, and there is a little bit of cover, and there's usually going to be people pressuring the Lamp again, my mortal enemy. And the main thing here is just being able to dive on them. A lot of these weaker maps still aren't that bad for the jetpack, because you can kind of just like jetpack them anyways, because it's a pub and they're not going to be looking up that much. But it's like, we're looking at the strength of the jumps here and the consistency. And for the most part, these older maps, this map, Gold Rush, just aren't that good for it. And you can see, like, there isn't really that much impressive jump technique to be had on them. This is probably the only real, like, saving grace for it, just because you could do stuff like this, land around the sides of it. I think I'll move Gold Rush down a tier. It's honestly pretty weak. I'll move Hoodoo down a tier as well. They just aren't strong. That's all I have to say about it. Something like the difference is Swiftwater and Snowplow, Nightfall. They all have like very high value jumps that you can do with them, but they don't have that many consistent jumps. Like in the consistency of their jumps isn't there. But then it's like you can compare that to like Hoodoo, Gold Rush. None of their jumps are that strong, and there's very few good jumps you can do. So that's as simple as that. Borneo. Another weaker map for it, but this map is actually like pretty fun and well designed. It's just like due to the nature of the map, you can land around here, just pull people down that lane. You can try and do something like this. First is pretty good for it, honestly. The main things you want to watch out for are third and last. Second, also pretty weak for it actually. Really, it's only first that saves it. Their second is like a bit less weak than the others. But first, it's your whole entire playground, basically. Lots of really solid fluid jumps here. You can land right behind the flying house that's used in, like, Highlander sometimes. Jump right across here, jump right over here, land behind. If they have a gun there, you die to that. You can jump around the flanks here, land all the way around. You can see there's a lot of potential to be had, like you have a lot of jumps you can commit to at any given moment, but none of them are going to be super, super strong. But you know, that's fine. Having a lot of options is good. I do think these are one of my favorite sets though, just landing on the flank behind like that, backburning people. This is probably my favorite offensive one. Going into second, you do have a few options. You can land right into the corn if you get lucky with your jump. Then you can kind of catch people on the rotation and backburn them. On the defensive side, you can jump in high like this and hold around the choke points with your team. On the offensive side, you can kind of land behind like this, but you usually have a gun watching it. What I'd instead recommend you to do is just to try and land, like, over here. What'll happen is, like, if they have a gun, you'll get knocked back against the wall, but you'll have a chance of just being able to walk through anyways, with just, like, a little bit of HP left and infiltrate. Whereas if you go wider, like main or so, you're just gonna get pitted against this wall and fall down. But here, it's like you'll be pitted to the left side wall, and you might be able to cling to it. A bit of a way to circumvent that issue is to do something like this. You get blasted a bit further in. Works out. Defensive side, this could be a pretty good one as they're pushing in. Just make sure you have a bit of momentum going into it. Another one that can be interesting is doing this on the offensive side, landing around the flank like this. This can be an alright defensive one. It's not that weak, but again, not really designed around the jetpack, yeah. This is pretty decent for it, like this outside third area. Land behind you, you can land on the fence, you can keep jumping around like this. It's quite fine. Use some cover like that. Do something like this as well. Land on the flanks, yeah. You don't do anything in tunnel there, but third is where we have some issues. You try and jump in around like this, you can kind of land behind them, but there's gonna be heavies and guns watching it. Another option you have is to try and land like right in like this, or right into the middle section from below. You can also try and land just right across like this, but again, it's like a lot of ways to experience the same exact issue, so I wouldn't recommend it necessarily. On the defensive side, this is a very, very fun one, but you can do that with the detonator as well. But, of course, you have full HP with the jetpack, so that's pretty fun. But, this can be a pretty fun area for it. This is always a fun one. You go, like, super curved here, and you just kind of land on them. You can also do the inverse of that one, and just land around the sides of them. You can try and go in a bit further, a bit riskier, and try and land around here. If they don't have that much presence around main, but they're all on the flank, you can land like this. You can take like a bit of a wider flank jump as well. We'll just try and go in for people right here. That's most of your jumps there. On last, it's pretty bad. This is like the one jump. You just try and get behind their flank. Really not that good though. They're all gonna be watching it. They're all gonna be on the flanks. So yeah, don't run that set on that point. Borneo. I'd say C tier. Yeah. I think C tier is just kind of where I'm gonna have it be average, as like it's either like half or half, with like the points being bad versus good for the jetpack, or it's just like there aren't really any standout jumps, but there's a decent few like good jumps. Yeah. Whereas like the B tier is more where it's like really, really solid at certain points, but like other points you just have basically no options for it. Kind of. It's all relative, whatever. Point being, the jumps on the B tier maps are much more impactful than the jumps on the C tier maps. So on and so forth. Badwater, really good.
Victory.
Like, really good. So, bad water jumps. Just like that. And then check out this one. This one's so sick. You just land like all the way in on them. On first, you have so much cover. You can land in from basically any angle. You can jump in from one of these angles. You can go in like this. It's basically your playground. On offense, you can do one of these babies. Land right here, behind enemies forward on there. Or you can try and go further, use this rock as cover, then jump in far on the flank here. Just watch out for their sentry guns. They don't miss. This can be a decent one as well. If you want to go far in, then you just, well, let me fully demonstrate the rollout. What you typically want to do there is just power jet out, get around to say this point or so, then you just do one jetpack jump, land over here, then another jetpack jump, land behind, boom bomb, you're in. Then you just spawn camp or do whatever it is you want to do. This is another really potent one. Just land in either there or cut the jump short and land around there. And then last but not least, you can do one of these and just land all the way around the flank or there. Or you can like do a little bit of a different angling of it and try and go in from like here or so, and then try and land right here. You can Goomba snipers and just like land right around them, yeah. It's pretty effective. But you can see, there are so many good options there. It's like super strong for it. Same for bad water. For bad water for a second. You can jump from there. You can jump in from below here. You can jump super far and behind the main around here. If you're pushing in through main and not going up top, you can do this and land right around behind them as well. The main thing by far, though, for a second, is this whole entire up top area. You can just jump right up to it, clear off any players on the roof, then just jump super far in main, and boom. As long as I don't have minis watching you, you're good to go. Third, drastic drop off. Drastic. Cannot overstate that. Land behind them here, that's about the biggest one you can do. Any other jumps you try and do are kind of situational. This one can kind of work. You can kind of try and jump in through main here, but you're going to be getting the same damage as the rest of your team. You could try and do something like this though, but it's a bit more of a sight line across. Yeah. Nothing quite that strong there. Last though, that's a strong point for it. Look at the distance from that jump. Look at the curve of that one. That's great. If you see a sniper around window, you just do one of these. Then you're pretty close. Then you can jump in through the spiral here. You can do that with the detonator as well. But you can commit from so many angles at once with the jetpack, basically. Just land right around them here. You can jump in through map room, land right there. I think usually you go a little higher, like around there. So yeah. You can jump up to this one. You can jump over to their spawn like that. Don't get clipped on the wall though. You can jump in from up top, from below. Another really good one is just reverse bomb this, choke point here, land around up here, main. Sometimes enemies won't look up to you, even if they do. You can just air blast them around for a bit, jump back, then get heals, recommit, and then try and go for like an actual bomb like this. If you get some ground here, this is a really good one to go for. You just get in behind them here. Yeah. You can also bomb from map room. Too much effort to go through right now though. But lots of really good options. I will say third kind of ruins it, but it's still an A tier. So, this one's pretty interesting. You get very far reach from that one, pretty fast rollout, kind of like a soldier rollout. You can also go in from the flank over here, jump up to here, then do one of these, and boom, you're in pretty far. If you want greater control, you don't have to be fancy and backwards jump. You can do whatever jump you want, I'm not judging. You can jump far to the flank from here, like all the way on the side. You can jump to the point from the side, if you don't get clipped on that. So you probably want to do it like from a little bit further back like there, so yeah. You can jump super far into their main. Careful not to clip your head on that though, won't be pleasant. You can jump around the sides like this. The main thing though is that it's going to be pretty wide open, so just be careful that you're not jumping right into an enemy team. Overall, it's good, the jumps are good, but you're not going to have a high life expectancy. I feel like it's probably missing maps at this point. Alternatives, maybe. I guess it'd just be the seasonals, if anything. I'll probably chuck Cascade in as well. Yeah, I'll chuck in some seasonals afterwards. Right, Koth Sawmill. I'm quite happy that PAYLOAD is over. Quite exhausting to do PAYLOAD. This is a really good jump around here. Land right behind everybody around point. You can also go around, do the inverse of that, land around the flank here. Either land up there, or here. Land right on the side of enemies. You can go in from this side, do the same thing, mirrored. Jump around towards their spawn like this. Curve around, get a very wide jump. You can jump onto the fences. Then from the fences, you can jump further in. A lot of options. And there's a lot of cover around. You're not going to be jumping directly into the point, but you have a lot of options. I would say B tier. Probably one of the better calls for it. None of the jumps are going to be that high impact, but they are actually really consistent. I'm going to move it up to A tier. Viaduct. Pretty as I was saying, pretty potent one over here. Just make sure not to clip your head. You land right around there. It's a pretty hard one to actually pull off though, because of the height ceiling. You can land around their cliff like that. You can jump around to these bridges, use the rocks as a little bit of cover, land in further behind them. You can jump into their concrete like this from behind. You can jump around their grass. You can jump around this bridge here. You can jump around these rocks. Just like that. Get a little bit of a better angle though. After these important messages. Yeah, land right on their grass like that. Land around in China. Basically, there's a lot of like really fast, really high flow, high impact jumps you can do. And there's a lot of cover laying around. It's a lot better than product in that regard. For the jetpack. I'd say I don't want to put it into S tier. I do think it's better than Sawmill. Definitely the best King of the Hill from what I've played, for like what I've done on the list so far. so that's a decent one to start off with. You can jump around here as well, land around here. You can jump further in towards their yard, land around there, so you can jump right around like this.
3, 2, 1. Control point enabled.
You can jump, again, mirrored. You can jump to their house, jump onto the point itself, jump further into their valley, maybe land on their bridge. Yeah, barely. That's pretty good. Actually, most of the King of the maps seem pretty decent for it, but again, it's like most people are going to be a lot more scattered on King of the Hill. I don't think it's going to be as good as Product, though. Probably B tier. Very wide open, not much cover, but you do have some pretty cool jumps. Yeah, I think it's like the quality of a few jumps is what makes it relatively impressive rather than quantity here. Or like overall consistency. I'll give it a B tier. Yeah.
Pyro, calling here. Think you can handle this?
High pass. Jump over here, just like that. Pretty fast rollout. You can jump from one of the houses to the bridges. I don't think you can. Oh, you can actually land above. Then you can land like further over there, or what you can do is add some more spin to it. Check this one out. Look at how high you go there and how far in. Perfect position to backburn. You can jump right across point, but do be a little bit careful with that. Go right across, go across like this, or stop over there, but you can go a little further if you wish. It's up to you. You can go from one of, you can go right up like that, I guess, yeah. Go further in like this. Pretty effective. You can't really jump much from that point specific, and I think that covers most of the jumps here. Decent lot of cover. I think I'll put it in B tier as well. Yeah. It's nothing egregious. Harvest, you're gonna get killed on a lot of these. You can kind of go up, but you do get clobbered if you get too up, so don't aim straight up. You can get some decent jumps here. The main issue is that you don't really have the killing potential of a soldier here or down man. You don't have ranged options, you're just gonna get shot out of the sky. You do have some pretty fancy and decent jumps though. But it's just like, again, all you're really gonna be doing is bullying snipers here around these houses. Anybody else, and you're just gonna get kind of zoned out. You can do something like that. Let me try and get it right. A little too low, I think. Again, it's like really hard to balance it on this map though, because if you go too high, you can kind of just fall out, like from the height. So that can be interesting. This one could be interesting as well. It is fun for it, don't get me wrong, but it's either going to be like you're rolling people or you're getting rolled on it. I think I'll put it as a C tier. Like side's really interesting for it. You can jump super far like that. One of my favorite ones is curving right around this obelisk. Check that out. And then you can backburn people either right behind Or you can try and go in like a bit further, or try and land behind the points. Yeah, it's pretty interesting there. You can jump right on past their bridge here, land behind them in their main. You could go in from the right side here and try and go high and fast over the point like this. Like, let's see, roll out here, yeah. See this. One jump. Ah, messed up. Whatever. I ignore that, So watch this, yeah. You land here, boom, you're on the enemy side. Just from that rollout. If you do a jump early, you might have another charge at that point, but I don't believe so. Probably just want to do those two. And you can jump right across like this, land on the other side, jump from Bath, land on this side, land around ruins, jump over like that, and like that, and then you've kind of just done a complete Mario Kart circuit. Jump far in like that. A lot of options, just don't go near Rathouse. Or like, don't stay there rather. You don't really have options to deal with people there. Very wide open, but the obelisks serve as pretty decent protection, honestly. I'd say low B. Okay, you jump over here to start. Then there's a few interesting things you can do. You can jump around like this, just to the side. You can jump into a tunnel like that. I said you can jump into a tunnel like that. There we go. You can jump in from a tunnel and go super far, use these pillars as cover. Jump around from these pillars, land on the sides. You can try and jump around from the right side of the point, land around here, so it lets people off if they're coming from lower. From lower, you can like jump around and kind of just go diagonal. You want to do a lot of like diagonal jumps on this point slash map, I'd reckon. Yeah. You can go in super high like that. Probably can use the trees. Yep. That being said, I don't think they're that useful. You can use one of these and just go super far and turn yourself into their main. But once they have a gun up and tunnel, your fun is dead. For that reason, I'm probably going to put it down a bit. And also none of the jumps just actually do that much. I'd say D tier, honestly, only because every single time I've played Call of Lazarus, there's a singular gun over here, a level 3 that's angled, and you just can't do anything versus that. We're going to Brazil now.
Control point enabled. Move.
Jump like that. Jump like that. That's pretty good to start with. You can jump to those low roofs. You can jump to point. You can jump far right side from there. Get blocked by the roof, but you do mostly get to your destination intact. You can jump super far in like that. You can jump to the left side here. Jump across again. Basically, you're just able to be like very fluid with your movement here. You have a lot of options at any given time. That being said, it all does come down to the center of the point, and if you try jumping at the center of the point, you're going to die. The jumps themselves, I'd say, are pretty good. Yeah. Jumps themselves are pretty good, but I don't think there's that much practical application for them considering the nature of the map. I still think they're pretty good and consistent jumps though, so probably a low C tier. That's where Brazil is, and we're not going to Brazil. Nucleus is a pretty fun one if I remember. Yeah, lots of interesting jump options here. You can jump onto the point, you can jump a little bit on top of it. Just be careful not to actually hit the top of it. You can jump all the way around here. You can jump basically anywhere. There's a lot of cover, a lot of jumping angles. You can just be so unpredictable. Land right on the point here, lots of people jump in from below, land to the side. Jump in also from below, land on the point, and just completely cross the map in a matter of moments. Could do some fancy backward jumps. Really fun map for it. So it's also an A for sure. Sweden is also a pretty good one, I can tell you that off the top of my head. Just wait for the time to end. So firstly, you can jump onto these pillars like this, play it like it's soldier, except for you have a flamethrower and guarantee crits. Jump all the way around here. Jump to their spawn. Jump from the roof all the way over to the roof over here, or the flank. Probably more from this side though, yeah. If you stand on this top rock, you have a better chance. Don't believe you can land in the tree. No, you actually can. Cool, that's a pretty good spot as well. Nice hiding spot. Lots of jump options, and then on the point itself, it's very close quarters. Your flames are going to be very high impact there. You can do some reflex on some people. So it's like there is a decent argument to stock with the set. And you'll basically just be like flying around like a rat. It's pretty good, honestly. Pretty good, yeah. I think it's just like another easy A tier Call of, yeah. Oh, Freight, that's an old one. Haven't seen that map in a long time.
Hi, Pyro. It's been calling.
Suspecting it probably also suffers from old map syndrome. No real jetpacks to be done there. I do want to take another look at last caps, but past that. Decent jump initiation ports around here. This ramp is fine. You actually can go in pretty high, okay. So that's not a concern. You can go decently far and not quite far enough though. You probably want to initiate more from like over here. You still have the cover of the ramp as a shield. You can land over there, a little bit behind them. Do a better jump closer to it and you land above. Okay, that is pretty good for it. Then you can completely cross it over here. Now onto this point, you can jetpack jump over here. Mixed feelings. This is pretty good for it actually. You have a lot of low flying crits here. Land around here, land around there, land around there. Awkward clip, whatever. Yeah, I think it's really just like the second area that kills it. I'd say probably a C tier. Is it though? I think I'll actually move it up tier. I don't think it would actually be that good for it, but there is a lot of, like, angles to just commit from. Okay then. Wow, actually surprised. You can't. There's a joke to be made there. W key. Interesting start. You can jump onto those lamps. You can jump around here. Jump all the way around. Can't get onto that roof though, but you can probably jump onto the middle point roof. Yes, yes you can. Okay, that's pretty good. A lot of options here. Honestly, the CP maps seem pretty friendly to it. I think they're just still not as good as PAYLOAD though, because you can just count on everybody being like turned to one certain angle. Yeah. Do have quite a lot of vertical momentum though and options. Land up there, sure, why not? For last, you can kind of jump around up top. You don't really have any options besides jumping onto here though. And then this area is a dead zone. I don't like it besides the middle point, I think. Actually, hold on. Now that's interesting. Still probably a C tier. It's decent enough, I guess. Oh, Ghost Town, that's one. Vanguard. I believe it's pretty decent for it, actually. Jump across like that. Yep. Jump all the way across, use the stagger of the jump to your advantage. Wonder if you can get on top of that. You can? Okay, yeah, it's pretty jetpack friendly, I reckon. Lots of interesting choices. Jump up there. And from there you can jump all the way over here. From here you can jump over here. You can probably do some jumping from the bottom section, like up to there, yep. Same deal here. Or you can jump like that. Pretty jetpack friendly, yeah. Seems like a lot of control. Okay, yeah, that's a good map. That's a good map right there. I feel comfortable giving it an A tier. Lots of effective jumps. All you need to do is just watch out for this little middle area over here, and then it's basically good. Am I actually comfortable with giving it the A tier though? I don't think so. I think it looks a lot flashier than it is practical. I just don't think it's gonna be that high impact overall. Yeah.
Mission begins in 30 seconds.
Well, interesting jumps. believe CTF is going to be better though. That's about it for last. Here it's kind of useful, but I feel like you also really just want like a non-backburner flamethrower here. Maybe. Actually, there is like a lot of areas you could just sort of die from. Jetpack does give some options there. Mid-fight. Oh, that's a rollout. Okay, you land like right behind. Then you can kind of come in from here. Okay, if you go in from the water, you can kind of come in from below, but they're probably going to see you. I think probably speed running around their trains is probably the best bet. Don't think you can jump through the split. Yeah. Literally can't. Ah! And I like the midpoint. Nothing else is really that friendly for it though. Yeah. Nature. Yeah. Ooh, powerhouse. That's a fun one. Valve justifying adding a timer to Powerhouse. How could they? So Powerhouse has a lot of very interesting jumps. That's a great one to start with. You can kind of jump around here as well, land around here, jump over this way, jump onto these rocks, jump far in like that, jump right across. So that's pretty interesting to begin with, but then let's see what you can do outside of the mid-fight. Over here, you can land through here, backburn some people. You're not gonna get that much rally off over here, no. So that's pretty much a wash. Last, there's gonna be sentry guns here, but it is an interesting jump, technically. And that's honestly just the mid-fight. Ah! There's Rips maps. But it just doesn't let the jetpack shine into its shrinks. I mean, there's like a few cool jumps, so it's not awful, but yeah. I don't know, I do like the mid fights, so I think that does prevent it from being like awful. Do I feel like... Yeah, I feel like it's kind of in the same tier as Gold Rush and Hoodoo, where it's like only relatively effective things are kind of just getting you killed. Yeah, I don't think I could really think of a situation where I wouldn't just want to run like Detonator and a regular flamethrower instead. Maybe mid-fights in specific. It's a tough call. I don't think I'm gonna change my judgment though. And like, okay, this one's cool and all, but like, practical? It does save enough time, I think. You can just sort of like speed around. I guess that's one factor I'd consider. Yeah, major time saves, does have Lady right at the enemy team. I just don't think it's actually gonna be like that hopeful though, yeah. It's a really tough call. Standing. Haven't seen that map in like ages. 2017 or so. I guess it's like you want to view in like a few different ways, right? Like first, what does it actually accomplish, right? Like it just, I don't know, like let's say you jump in the wide open, like unless there's chaos you kind of just get killed. Second, how technically involving is it? Like what sort of spot does it end up putting in, yeah? I guess it sort of blends together with the other one, but third, how much distance do you cover? What sort of like opportunities does it open up? I guess it's just like a mix. And then four, like what sort of cover do you have when initiating it, right? So it's like a mixing of those four factors really, and they all kind of come together to form like a general coolness factor along with the actual usefulness. So let's cover it point by point. Pretty interesting, I'm not gonna lie. Unfortunately, you can't jump onto that very top thing, but you can still jump to the side here like this. And then from there you could jump back here. I feel like that's pretty useful. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity here. There's usually going to be like a lot of chaotic mini-fights happening on this point and map, I feel like. So it's like there's definite opportunity to just be flanking here, I'd say. Aha, see, the point is B. Aha. Okay, yeah, these jumps are sick for this. There's like so many angles you can go to from any one jump here. I think C is where it's gonna suffer it though. Definitely. That's gonna prevent it from being that strong of a pick. I feel like a C tier. It's not necessarily gonna be that. Well, is it a C or is it a B? Good question. I'm not paying too much attention to like their individual ranking within the list, within the tier. Okay, I do feel like it's a bit better than something like, I don't know, Harvest. Maybe that means move Harvest down a tier, though. Yeah. I feel like Harvest is one of the maps where it's like, oh cool, I have this mobility, but then it's just like with the jetpack, you just really don't get to experience it that much, because it's like you're usually putting yourself into a pretty bad position due to how wide open it is. But it's, again, it's like the rule of pub where like, at the same time it doesn't really matter, but just trying to be like more objective with it. In a situation where like people would hit shots more, you're kind of just gonna die, yeah. But it's still like designed around it more than something like Gold Rush or Hoodoo. I guess like if you disagree with any of the rankings or whatever, it's also just a case of like you can kind of see the jumps for yourself and form your own opinion. Like it's a bit of a showcase at the same time, yeah. Metalworks. It's just fairly good on Soldier, so it's probably good on the jetpack as well, but probably better for Detonator. That's pretty interesting. You have some wide jump options there, pretty good for bombing. Yeah, I can see it. Here, I don't think it's really going to be that good. You're going to be making a lot of noise with your bomb, keep in mind. And, you're not going to be able to do it as consistently as a Soldier. Like, the main thing, though, is honestly just the noise, but also, like, the verticality. You'll go up, like, way too high for most of these to be that effective or practical. This is a decent one, though I think you honestly just want to do it at this point, yeah. And you just kind of land in, but they're probably all going to be standing around there, so it's a moot point. You could try and hide up here, but that's something you can do with Detonator anyways. mid-fight though, and like the second yard area should be pretty good for it. I don't think it really plays to Pyro's strengths in specific though, it's mostly just like high ground, but the enemies are going to be looking at it a lot. I don't think any of it's particularly that well concealed. Yeah. I feel like there's probably just too many like close quarters fights in the end. Hard call to make. Yeah, I feel like it gives off somewhat similar energy to Lazarus. I'm gonna try and like zero on like one map per tier that I feel like defines it for me. I'll go and recover that at the end and like do any final close-ups. Fast lane. The one interesting jump on last. Could be okay-ish, but not really the point for the jetpack. This is way too wide open, you're gonna get shot out of the sky with any jump here. Also way too wide open. You have decent maneuverability though, so I feel like maybe not as bad as maybe pure Gold Rush, but also you just don't really have time to shine. It's gonna be like no real bombs, like very flank heavy. But you do have a lot of options for escaping, so I feel like that's like an angle of it that can't be downplayed that much. But that being said, I don't think it's that good for it. It's just like that one aspect of it that's played up, yeah. Good for escaping. Don't think it's gonna be that great overall though. Okay, it's just a case of like if you're not actively using the jetpack, then you're kind of just losing out a value of it, because with any other secondary you're getting passive benefit from it essentially. Like with the detonator you're able to do all these things, right? Like spy check, use it for mobility, spam, detonate projectiles. With shotgun you just always sort of have like a consistent option versus other pyros and stuff like scouts and faster targets they have trouble with, or like jumpers. With flare gun it's really good for single target, scorch shot is great spam, so on and so forth. But it's like, with the jetpack you really need to be thinking, am I actively getting value off of using it here, or am I actively jumping as much as I can and using it either to like initiate or escape or bomb, yeah? And it's just like, if you're not really able to do that on a map, then you really don't need to be using it in the first place. Like most of these. I'd say C tier is when like it becomes a bit more viable for it to like maybe just be ran, just depending on how the enemy team is playing, yeah. I'd say B tier is where it's pretty good, for like certain aspects of the map, or like for payload for certain points. A tier is pretty much where it's good like almost all the time, and then S tier is just like, it's a fantastic map for it, I reckon, yeah. Can't jump there. Let's look back here real quick. I actually got distracted with my monologue. You can jump up here, that's pretty fair. Not really anything else to do here though. If you go a little higher you can jump on that train, I know that. You can jump up here, pretty interesting, pretty interesting. Another lobby sort of area. Lobby areas really kill the jetpack. It's like you need like angles you can engage favorably from, but fortunately these lobbies do have some high ground to them, so it's not the worst thing. You don't really get that much ability to do things on the mid-fight, but it is kind of cool to just jump around. And you can do things, but they're not going to be that impactful. You're gonna have to like either directly jump into people or like otherwise expose yourself to be in a good position to actually commit. Yeah, it's not a very good map for it. I just don't really see it being that effective here. I guess for like pure mobility maybe, but then it's just like I don't like you're kind of trading that mobility, your ability to actually have a secondary move that's like assisting you with another function for that mobility. It's like you can get to places fast, but what do you do from that? Yeah, and it's just a bit of a conundrum you find yourself in. Maybe I'm not giving it enough credit here, though. It is kind of good around here. But then it's just like, I feel like anything interesting the mid-fight has going for it is kind of negated on second. If you jump anywhere here, you're just gonna get shot. So I think I'm comfortable with making that call. So for last year, let's see what we have. That's a pretty interesting jump right there. You can try and jump from lower into over here, from here into over here, land on this crate, jump right across here. All pretty viable jumps. You can even speed right across that. Jump into lower. Pretty effective, all things considered. That being said, like, none of this is really gonna work out that well in 6s, because it's just, like, you're gonna get hit scammed to death. But, just for, like, a purely casual mindset, it's pretty interesting all around. Very nice jumps around here. It's a lot of things to climb from. I am somewhat speaking from experiencing like no restrictions 6s as well here in specific. It's like cool and all, but just not that practical in a regular matchup. It does feel pretty jetpack friendly though, but it's like I feel like that's a bit of a trap, yeah, because like you just get mulched when people are taking it more seriously. You do have a heavy amount of options though, typically. I reckon C tier. Yeah. It's not enough to the point where I could like recommend running it that often. Oh yeah, that's a lot of space. On the upside, by the time I'm done with this, it won't have entirely gone through my hard drive space. It's good. Last, can't use it. Second, can't really, although if there aren't any enemies around, you can kind of jump around like this. The mid-fight is the only place where this matters. But the mid-fight is absolutely wonderful for it. Look at the sheer rate of movement there. Of course, you're only gonna have 2 charges, so, like, make sure to conserve them in an actual game, but I really like the jumps to roof in specific, and then from there you can just go super far in. Like, that's such a healthy jump right there. But those are the types of jumps you love to see. It's pretty cool, but just not good for it overall. I'm gonna, using like the sort of basis for like Powerhouse and Nightfall, I'm gonna judge it in that tier. I do really like the mid-fight jumps though. It's just like after the mid-fight, I would say there's no time you should be using it. Yeah. Sounds reasonable to me. I feel like my performance is just gonna die a little bit from like all my space being used. to speedrun this video out. Gully wash, pretty useless on last. Second, let's check it out. Jump up here, that's pretty cool. Quite useful. Not nearly as cool as Snake Flutters, though. A lot of this is just sort of wide open area, so it's like any value you're gonna get off your jumps is just gonna be kind of ruined by the fact that you only have 2 of them and you only have close quarters options. And that's definitely something to consider, so E tier. How long have I been working on this for? 3 hours. Probably like 3 hours 30 and then. Alright, last. Sorry, I just got botting out. This is a cool jump to make. These are alright jumps, but it's like, why you're on jetpack at this point? I don't know, it's just like there's gonna be people standing right there ready to shoot you. Again, using what was established in the Koth one, it's like you have some interesting jumps around here. You can go very far in. I don't remember entirely what I did, but there's like a way you can do it, probably around here actually, that you can like land on the bridge. Yep, just like that actually. So that's pretty useful there, saves a lot of time. The verticality of second is really your friend here, although it might have seemed like the skybox isn't. Yeah, not quite. So it's like don't go too high, don't be Icarus, you know, but jumping around here is fine. I'd recommend probably diving into one of these lower parts though from it. Probably honestly like this left shutter after you get it. Right shutter rather, and then just land behind, grab people around here. I definitely do think this is a pretty potent area for whether you can do super wide jumps like that. I think it's honestly pretty viable everywhere outside of last. At least much more than Koth, I'd say, due to just like how everybody's not going to be clustered around the same spot looking up at you. I think it's pretty fair. I'd say C. No, actually D. I think it's... no. C for mobility, yeah. I'll leave it with that little footnote though. Don't think it's gonna be that good for actually aggressing. But like, the mobility is a pretty fair part of the jetpack, and it's like in closer quarters maps, the mobility kind of just like serves as its own secondary, yeah. There's a certain point to be made in that I can't ignore. Detonator point. Detonator point. Interesting, but detonator point. Can't jump onto that. Can try and land on their spawn platform. I guess that's like one use for it. But this just isn't good for pyro. Jetpack rather. Mid on the other hand, I'm inclined to think differently about, but again, detonator point. Is it a detonator point? Yeah, detonator point. You just like jump onto the roofs, grab the small health packs, play around there. It can be a jetpack point as well, though, I'd say. But just due to how like the rest of the map is, I just don't think there's a point in using the jetpack for this small little area. I'd say it's F tier, yeah. That's like, okay, cool, you get over here, then you jump over here, and it's like, what do? You know, you just land right next to anybody everyways. Everybody anyways, fuck. Bit disappointing. So here you're playing Vermeer, of course, you're doing the rollout. Pretty interesting point for it. Go back though. So for last, let's see. Somewhat interesting jumps. Yeah. And usually it's like everybody's kind of like looking just straight at the enemies as they're coming in, like that, where the enemy point, just focusing on that. So I could see this being pretty effective. You just kind of land right next to them, backburn them, yep. Second pretty interesting point. Actually, I'd say it was pretty good for jetpack. All things considered from what I played in newer 6 and 6s. You have a lot of options. Yeah, I would agree. Mid. Pretty viable for it. Honestly, I'd say it's one of the more decent CP maps for it. You can just kind of jump around everywhere, and most of it is pretty decently choke pointy and effective for pyro. I'll leave it with B. Yeah. I think the main thing to realize here is that it's like a very flank-friendly map. So it's like, if you're not able to get too much value off the jetpack itself during bombs, you're able to just commit from flanks a lot. And it's pretty useful, but pushing to last, you're going to experience some issues. I think on every other point, though, it's pretty decent. Yeah. I think 5 Gorge is going to be pretty similar to Manpower. I feel like all the gorges are honestly going to be pretty similar, but I'll be thorough. No, that's actually a decent lot better. I think with this, it's like, there's enough verticality to where it's decent just for flanking alone. Not necessarily as much like mobility, just as much like full flanking, just using it to get up to places, but I don't know. It's still not that strong for it, but I think it felt better than the Manpower Gorge. Let me actually take a look back at that. CTF Gorge. Let me just make sure I haven't just like changed my mind on things completely unjustly. Actually, it's the same. Okay, I'm just dumb. I've simply just started having more fun with this than before, my bad. It is a little different around here. Okay, that's I think in that case, I'm inclined to keep it around the same. I do feel like the middle area is a bit friendlier for it, though.
Hey, Pyro, Pauling here. This contract just came in.
I feel kind of dumb about talking about it like it was different before. No, yeah, this is actually different. I do kind of like that. I feel like having this low area does make it a little bit better. Like, purely like the structure of the midpoint. So I think I might be inclined. No, I'm gonna keep it on the same tier, but it will be above it. I can't in good faith put it above the other gorge. It's still too similar overall. Oh dear lord. That was a number too high. Bridge too far. last, kind of similar to gully, not to gully wash, like, process where it's like you have a lot of room to jump in on the last. They're all going to be looking through a few choke points. I think on Snake Water it's a little bit too open. I think on Gully Wash, they're typically like looking a lot more at spots where you'd be typically initiating from. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being a bit subjective here with it. I don't know, I don't think River is like as... No, actually, I stand by that. River is like a bit less favorable for Pyro launchpads. Like, they're gonna be kind of looking for people jumping at them anyways. I think having the under here is a cool element. It allows you to just kind of like snake in from below. You can jetpack up from behind, then from that point to around there. Or you can commit fully over here. I did this in No Restriction 6 a fair bit. You can jump over this fence into the valley. From the right side, you can launch yourself pretty far into last. You have a decent bit of cover, then you can get more cover here. Yeah. I do prefer it over Gully Wash, definitely. Yeah, the No Restriction 6's memories are coming back to me now. Can't jump over that one, unfortunately. Cafe is a wash. Rally's pretty good for it. Check this one out. I say as I get clipped on the wall. Ignore that. Never mind, it's not pretty good for it. I did not look at that. That is quite annoying. It might have been like from back here and a little bit lower. Yeah, okay, never mind. And then another one would be around here is pretty effective. Over there to the point. Around here, curve around the point a bit more, for sure. Do it from the fence to the point. Land right in it. Jump beyond the fence to the... there last, probably, yeah. Or to lower. Now mid is beautiful. Land right here in Cafe. Land right here in Valley. Bomb the choke point. You have a ton of options here. Definitely the best 5 CP map for it. I would say A tier. Very flank friendly, even compared to Process. And very, like, vertical. Lots of spots and little perches you can just, like, sort of base your plays off of. I'd agree. Just, don't go into Cafe and you'll have a fun time. I'd say that the flank route kind of saves the, lobby fight there for the jetpack backburner Pyro on Snake Water and, Snake Water and Sunshine, definitely. I think, honestly, the jetpack is going to be pretty mediocre for Turbine. A lot of it is very high player density, so it's like you're not really going to be able to sneak in. You could try and like get the jetpack and then just jump out, but it's like, why not just play something like Soldier in that case and have more mobility? Yeah, very weak map. I guess the one benefit is like being able to do this at full HP, but if you get the angle right. See, it's like very difficult to get right. There, you have to like get it very precise, and if there's like a sentry or something shooting at your heavier scout or anything basically interacting with you, you're not gonna be able to pull that out like at all. For the mid, let's see. And you can jump across, but if everybody's looking at you, this map is an F. 2-Fort, same as 2-Fort Invasion, has a little bit of cool tech, not really though. Double Cross is actually pretty good for it. Not gonna lie, I was kind of scared my game would crash there, like when I set the time skill to 130. So this, you can get the intel, jump out right here, but you can also do that as any other class. You can high bomb around this area, kind of. Like, take it to the side, though, a little bit. Ah, not really, actually. Skywalks anyways, disregard that. Here you can basically just have free reign of this entire area, although I guess you can't jump on that. Check this out, though. Then you can jump right onto the lower part, although don't jump right at that house again, I have very bad memory apparently. And then you can just sort of like swing around anybody in there, or you can jump right up to the upper part of blast. You can like lurk around the lower area. There's a more efficient route to be had there. Yeah, and you jump up like right through here. But check this out, I'll limit myself to like 2 jetpack jumps, actual turn impulse off. Nah, too much effort actually, I want to keep it on for the other ones. So you have 1 jetpack jump, 2 jetpack jumps, and then you just power jack the rest of your way back. And you have full HP, you still have air blast, you probably still have ammo for it anyways. And you're just able to kind of exfiltrate pretty easily like that. Otherwise you kind of just keep bullying people around here. Jump around the mid-bridge, trying to land on people in lower. Very fun map for it. I would say B. Not best for the weapon itself, but like in terms of being able to get kills, but very, very good for the mode. You can probably jump through this little side window. Yeah, see, it has some interesting tech, but it's just not strong enough for A tier. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, oh no, it's actually the same master. So kind of the same case as before, but now it's CTF, so like, your mobility really, really shines here. You can really just collapse on people. Not really around here, as much as just like being a complete flank gremlin around this whole lobby area. I feel like for that purpose, it's still not very good. Like, it's still not very good, but it's a little bit better than before, I'd say. Than on CP well. Because it's like, you know, you're gonna be chasing a lot more, like, people. Yeah. Less just trying to go for an objective that you're not well suited towards. Hunting down or, like, escaping with the intel is definitely something Jetpack does benefit towards. I don't think on 2.4 you can do that very well to begin with the Jetpack. Because a lot of it's just like horizontal rather than vertical. But for other CTF maps, I feel like that's a very important part. You have a lot of nice jumps here. You can have like a very high momentum around, play it like it's a jump map. Not as good as Double Cross though. B. C. Yeah. Do watch out for the sentry guns on last, you can bully around mid though. I do think I'll actually cover the arena maps as well. I don't have them, or the holiday maps on the tier list. I don't really feel like going through the effort for that, but I will give some passing thoughts and try and like loosely to them. And just have it in an audio form, yeah. I think it is CTF. I think I will actually lower it a tier though. The main reason why is because if you try and go for the intel, there's gonna be like a level 3 there and you're just gonna die. So it's like same map on paper pretty much, but in execution it's gonna be a bit more rough, I reckon. Now let me see where I put Sawmill at. Probably B. Yeah, and you still could definitely utilize the mobility for it and ambush people, but just not as effectively. I am definitely gonna eat after I finish this video, though.
Pyro, calling here. I need something done. Quietly.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
So that's an interesting one. I heard something about being able to jump over a roof at some point. Never actually tried it myself. Let me see if I can find what they were talking about. No? Something about being able to jump onto glass from someone else. Never really actually played this map much. Not on jetpack. There's probably an example out there somewhere though, for the other part of means talk about it, yeah. Overall though, you have a lot of nice options for jumping around here, a lot of curves to make. You can jetpack on the defensive side up to there. Go around the flank, let's check out B. Jump on top of this roof, collapse from there, jump away from there, pretty interesting stuff. Jump around the flank, jump around there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Quite cool indeed. Yeah, I really don't know what they're talking about, but pretty good map for it overall, very vertically focused. I think B tier. It's really cool and fun, a lot of interesting jumps, but I don't think they really play to Pyro's strength that much, I want to say. I feel like there's just too much empty space for people to get away with unless you commit more charges to them. So I feel like that unfortunately bumps it down a bit. And it's just like a lot of room for people to back up from. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of guns on attack defense here, yeah. But being able to jump, maybe this is what they meant, just being able to jump right up through there, probably. But just being able to jump up to here is pretty cool. I'll be nice and give it an A. I'll trust in the other pyramids. Yeah, no, I like lots of areas to just jump at. But that being said, of course, if they have sentry guns, you're just not gonna have a fun time. Like I've always really time with the jetpack though, so it's like, eh, whatever. I do like all of the movement options you have around here. Dublin. I was not very impressed with the jetpack on Dust Bowl, I'm gonna be real with you. You have mildly interesting jump from there. You can do one over here, but it's gonna be right at the enemy team. And this is the other one. And then from this area you can do a few jumps. You can jump right over here and vice versa, so that would be one reason to use it. If you want to have full health while going over there, you can go in, but you kind of be clipped. Pretty awful. Not a good look.
5, 4, 3, 1.
I'll just play scout here. Yeah,
begin. One.
Mission begin. Here can be mildly interesting, except for no, it's not. Yeah, a mediocre point for it. And you can cross this distance. That's about it. Last, I believe, is a bit more interesting. Just because you can, if I recall correctly, you can kind of high bomb around here. Yeah, land on the guns, but not if you have other people distracting me. If not, you're kind of just dead. You can do that, though. That's a pretty interesting one. Or you can, like, go over here and just camp their spawn a bit. Pyro is a bit better than other classes for that jump there. You can jump around up here, jump around up here, jump around here. So this is, like, a bit more interesting, but niche. Oh, I was already in blue, whatever.
Scout, calling here.
Oh dear lord. Okay, never mind. We don't win those. I believe last probably has the most to offer from it, but it also has the least to offer from the back burner.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. Mission begins.
I could have just switched teams at this point. Here, it's okay, but it's Dust Bowl. There's gonna be a full setup. You're gonna die. You can jump up to that, but you know they're gonna be watching that. On defense, you can do something like this, or you can try and do it the other way around. And this can be pretty effective in a pub when you're just like pushing in and aggressing. Yeah. You can do something like this. This is the most fun I had on Pyro actually, on Dust Bowl, just jumping around like this, landing on defense over here, killing their snipers. If you can also do it from a bit further back, you know, like that. You can jump down this lane on the defensive side, just land right into them. That whole area is like basically where the fun is. If you go over here, there's gonna be guns everywhere. If for some reason there isn't, though, here are some decent jumps. This is usually one of my favorite staging points. You just get like super high into the corner where like all their medics back into basically. This could be an okay one for just going in as well, bit of a wider swing. My second favorite one though is just jumping in from right below here. But again, this is kind of contingent on them not having sentry guns, and it's Dust Bowl, so you know they're gonna have sentry guns. So it's like, is it really gonna be that worth it? You can like reverse bomb this choke though. E tier, yeah. There isn't much redeeming to it. Oh hey, Flint's in the main menu.
Mission begins. One.
If I recall, Egypt's fairly interesting from it. You can kind of land around there. I think my preferred wallet is usually something like this. I don't know if you can go right over or not. You can. It's hard to tell with older maps sometimes. Yes, so I think it would usually be something like this. Land around behind a point or try and get up here and just go directly over it. It's kind of low momentum, so it's like you want other people pushing the point. You can usually kind of count on that in a pub. If you get up here, you can go in pretty fast though. On the defensive side, you can jump up to here and just like wait around for a bit, then just like dive on people over here. Usually I'd say you want to cling towards this side though and then try and launch in like that. Or just like straight and above. It's pretty fair for it, but just watch out for heavies. I don't encounter as many sentries on Egypt, it's usually just a lot of heavies. This is a pretty interesting rollout, but you have to kind of be careful not to clip your head like that. So it's like you want to aim a bit lower there, like around there, so when you can land in. I don't think you can go through this side. No, you can't. It would be sick if you could though. This is a pretty decent jump on offense. You land like right in the center of them. This can be a decent defense. This rollout like this, land right in here. Going into this point, you can do something like this, but you get clipped. You can kind of jump around this area, like over here, but really this isn't a point that's good for it besides this area. And then from there you can like try and high bomb over, except for not that high, probably aim downwards. I'm kind of making some of this up as I go. Let's see. You can try and jump over it around here, so land on their face, but it's just not that effective. It's gonna start capping. Don't think I'll do the time scale, dude. No, I won't.
Time has been added. 5 minutes left. Victory.
5 minutes left in the mission. I believe there's another stage after this one. Yes. So this is pretty interesting for the jetpack over here. All of these. You can do another one from like down here. You can do another from high and above. Never mind, you can't. It's weird. It's not like the other point. The point being, you can like initiate into the high ground from a lot of different angles here. Just be careful not to aim too high in these older maps, or else this happens and you kind of just get clobbered. So it's like you just want to be aiming like in a more middle of the ground area, so you get more like forward velocity. You don't get clumped, and you can just like keep landing behind people rather than like shortly right in front of them. Honestly, the skybox is the really like big thing holding Egypt back here. You don't like to see it. It really just nullifies most of the tech you can have.
Time has been added. Victory.
Hi, Pyro. Who's calling?
Mission begin. 1.
Interesting one over here. Interesting one over here. This is the best point by far for it. You can go high and dive in here. Maybe try and go with somebody if there's just a thing around there. It's not likely, but it lands you kind of like in the center of them. You can jump all the way around here. So that whole entire point's pretty good. Especially like if you go in from below here and just try and collapse with people. Or you could go like straight in, but this does leave you with a bit less velocity, which means it's a lot easier to just stall you out. I think I should prefer that angle for that jump. Here, large amount of area to jump. For some reason, the skybox here is good compared to the other maps. Except for it's not that good, but it's good enough. And there's just a decent few angles you can push from, but honestly the main thing is just that first little area of last. I'll put it in an E tier. There's valuable jumps sometimes, but you have to be very precise. I'm so tired of the multi-staged ones. It's like you could already tell if a map's bad or not based off of like the first stage. Typically, skyboxes contribute to it a lot.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
So this area, you can jump here. I said you can jump there. I looked away, so it didn't jump. You can jump around here a bit. Around here, first is the main thing for Mercenary Park. Anything else is kind of just meh. For the jumps. Lot of cover, they're kind of split by the spawn gates, you have people pressuring, and you'll be able to get some really fun jumps around this area. I believe you can land in the tree. Oh no, you can. You just have to be very precise. This is a fantastic one for offense. It just puts you in like the perfect spot to flank. So it's like you have all those jumps. You can land behind them around here, actually, leading into like a second and collapse on them. But like once they back up to here, you're not gonna be that successful. And you can try and jump up there, but you're usually gonna get shot at. There's sometimes saves for last, but that's pretty much mostly what they are. It's just like you can kind of get there anyways with other items. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's very good for last. Although I've been running it full time anyways for the funny meme. First, decent. Everywhere else, not really very niche use. I'd say... Well, due to the verticality, like the heights you can get to, I'd say D tier, it's like saved by that. Like the flank rats rather, that you can get from verticality. Moss Rock. Short and simple. Up here. All the way over here. From below. So you can get some pretty wide swings there. You can jump through this drop down, people never expect a pyro through here. You don't really need it around there, you can jump between these, I believe, yep. So that's pretty interesting. You can jump from below to up top here, then from up top here you can jump all the way around. So that's pretty effective. I don't think you can stand on this, cool. But that's not really practical, but you can camp that spot with it. You can basically just play the floor as lava here. I don't know if this lamppost does it or not, but that's one of, no it doesn't. That's one of the advantages these like newly added maps have. Like they tend to be a lot more clear with like what you can and can't stand on. Like especially the roofs. So it's like it tends to be a lot better for pyro antics like that. Or like jumper antics in general. And the skyboxes tend to be a lot more forgiving. But definitely a lot of good jump options. The world's basically your playground here. It is a little bit close combat, so I'd say it's not the best, but I'll give it an A tier. I do think I'll move Gravel Pit down to B tier. I feel like you just end up jumping into too many like straight areas. But this map, definitely fun for jetpacking. I think I'm just gonna probably say the same thing for Attack Defense Gorge. We'll see though.
Hey, Pyro, calling here.
Mission begins in 30 seconds.
This actually is pretty good for the jetpack. Right over here.
Mission begins in 10 seconds.
Now, I'll move this one up one tier just purely for these sorts of jumps. It's like, attack defense is usually a lot easier to flank on than manpower or 5 CP because it's like everybody's trying to flank in those, but in these it's like a lot fewer people typically trying to flank. It also benefits from this more linear defensive area, like a lot more. I might even go so far as to bump it up 2 tiers. I am a very big fan of Attack Defense Gorge because it's just like so many little angles you can commit from so many flanks. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't think so. But I definitely think it deserves to be above the other Georges. It's the best George. I think it's just really hard to genuinely get that much value off of it on last because you're going to encounter sentry guns. But defensively speaking, definitely a fun map for it, really involving, really rewards for activity. No, you know what? This is my tier list. I really like Gorge for jetpacking. No, I'm still gotta try and be a little bit more objective. No, actually, this spot, right? Okay. Discussion closed. If you disagree, I don't know. If you disagree, you disagree. Make your own list. Make your own. I asked.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
I guess it's also just a case of like everybody uses the jetpack differently though.
30 seconds.
I definitely enjoy that jump for the jetpack. I enjoy jumping up here. I don't enjoy doing that. I'm a noob apparently. skill issue. You can jump across the pits, jump above, definitely fun to do that. I feel like Mountain Lab's definitely a fun one for it, probably my favorite attack defense. You can just completely land above point, you can do this, careful not to hit that, and then you can jump above this, you can jump above this, you can land either behind him there, or you can land right over here. Then you can also do this. You can try and do one of these jumps, then from this position you can either go for like a high bomb over there or a curve swing over here. Like I've tried to commit to both, so I didn't really do either that well. But this gives you pretty wide swing. You just usually want to find like a somewhat advantageous position to bomb from. That's a pretty solid one I'd say, but maybe decrease the angle a little bit. Yeah, like that sends you pretty far, and this is another solid one. And then this is one of my favorite ones. Look at that swing. And it puts you in like the perfect position. You back grenade over here, you can drop down, you can also just go right through the drop down, but you can do it that with the detonator anyways. I'm trying to focus on what Jetpack uniquely does. Really, really good point. Map for it. Yeah. I have a few things to say about Steel. I will shorten it to one. Alright. Guess what it's gonna be? Answer. Detonator map. Detonator just can do what Jetpack here does, but better. Just do it how enclosed everything is. Simple as that. Only time that really isn't the case, I'd argue, is if you're trying to like go for like a really stupid like sack onto like heaven or like point, but usually the detonator is just gonna be better than that anyways because it sends you less high up. But some interesting jumps, the A one I showed you. Check out B here. Like I said, the detonator is just better for these though, for the most part. Don't have too much else to say on it, but I'll just keep showing, yeah. And this is one case I guess where it would outdo the detonator, except for nope, it's skyboxed. You can kind of do this with the detonator already, but this does put you in a bit of precision to it, but you're so committed to jetpacking at that point if you have the weapon on there, so it's like not really much value overall. 218 minutes. You can't really use it here at all. The main thing is just if you're trying to air blast everybody off the point, you can try and do it like this, but you're gonna get shot out of the sky, you use detonator there. So, Steel. F. Junction. It's gonna be another of the same case. But I will satisfy by doing it.
Hey Pyro, calling here. Your contract just came in.
This is interesting right here. This is interesting right here.
Mission begins in 30 seconds.
You can't really do the reverses that well, just because it's like taking you in. You can do that. Usually want to aim a little bit more down though. Detonator, detonator.
Mission begins
Yep.
in 10 seconds.
It's not a good map for it. Left here. Brickyard.
3, 2.
And then after this map, I will move on to ranking a few competitive maps and then Christmas maps.
Mission begins in 30 seconds. Mission begins in 10 seconds.
I'd say the pastime maps are really interesting for the jetpack. You have like so much interesting technology they can utilize for it. Like check this one out again. And you can do that anyways, but like it's just cool to jetpack. And I guess it does kind of stall your momentum actually with this one in specific, but like if you want to go to the side, you can actually just entirely switch it. I don't know if you can do that as well with the other ones. I don't think so. Like, actually, that's so technical. Holy shit. The freeze the jetpack gives you just allows you to completely switch your direction. So I do think I actually really like the jetpack for that. Well, that is actually amazing. No, that'd be like super sick for faking people out. Yeah, no other class can do that. Literally none, like to the same extent. Maybe like, I don't know, an atomizer, soda pop, or scout. Wing or two, I guess. But that is certainly impressive. That is an S tier. Best map. I have no words. Alright. So first, we are going to do a few competitive maps that are also somewhat done in casual. Astral is honestly like mostly a detonator map, but if we want to get technical, this is a bit better with the jetpack here, but again, it's like you can just detonate or play it slow and safe on the roof. You're gonna be playing this map in competitive mostly. This jump can be pretty good here, pretty unique. Same for the cross map ones, like the other cross maps, yeah. If you're doing a sack, it can be beneficial to have the extra momentum from the jetpack, but it's like, you're gonna be out of the fight for so long if you run back to spawn when it's called to sack, unless you just respawn the moment you call to sack. So it's like, not that useful. I think that's about case closed there. You can do some interesting things like jumping under bats to in. Pro plant / coal plant. European version of Astral. Worse. Diagnosis concluded. So, Astral I'd probably leave at C tier. Pro plant I'd probably put a B tier. You have a lot more verticality, so a lot more areas to like benefit from the jetpack compared to the detonator with. Like, you're not going to be able to land on their roof there, whereas with the jetpack you will be able to. Higher sky ceiling, much more effective. Very fun to jump on, but you will be baiting your combo. And, you know, that's your team's fault for not paying you enough to not bait them. I'd put it at a B tier, yeah. I feel like this is probably another detonator map. Maybe not, though. Mostly. No, actually not really. There's so many good jumps you can do with the jetpack here. Check this out, man. Go flying all the way around, land around, yep. That's pretty effective. Usually in competitive it's like very good for causing chaos here. But it's usually done in like Pro Lander, so it's like not as big of a deal anyways. Like jetpack's a lot better in Pro Lander typically due to the more existing chaos. Probably a B tier map. A lot of cover. Vigil, I think a new version just released, but... Or, no, I think it's in the works still, so I'm just gonna use RC7 for the time being. Mostly better for detonator, however, jetpack is unmatched at one specific thing. Two, actually. Although, for the second, actually, the detonator is pretty competitive for it. Alright, so for the jetpack. This is something the detonator entirely can't do, and you can either land behind their flank right here and just backburn them, or you can land into the flank house from the side here if you get a wider swing, or you can do it from the front side, but usually it's better to just go on the opposite side. I'd say it's probably another C tier. It's like, it has use, but detonator does its job better on this map. Like, actually so much better. that I'd probably put it down to a D tier. Like this jump, for instance, detonator is just entirely better for. You go in like a lot more unpredictably, a lot faster. They don't know you're W bombing because you're not on the jetpack. Whereas with the jetpack, they know you're gonna be going for some sort of a bomb if you're using it. D tier, yeah. Rapids. New map in development. Pretty good one, pretty good one. Haven't actually had the opportunity to test it out with jetpack, so let's test it out now.
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
And then there's one more competitive map. Two more I want to do after this. So here, this is pretty interesting for it. But again, keep in mind, like, these are competitively oriented maps. The same jumps that work in casual aren't going to give value here.
Mission begins in 30 seconds.
Now this one is actually pretty interesting, though. You land right behind the nest of players, good for causing chaos. You can skip right across here, do what detonator can't. You can get through that window with detonator. You can with jetpack as well, gives you a freeze frame. Flank behind like this, try and go over wide like this, yeah. You can go in through over here, go through this drop down, pretty effective. Pretty wide open, so it's like it really has time to shine, and it's a very flank-oriented map. So I'd say probably B tier. I don't think it's necessarily A due to how many lobbies there are, but you have really, really good flank opportunities that jetpack with its speed allows you to like really capitalize off of with better health. Warm tick pretty damn good for the jetpack. You land right behind you, you can critical anyone. You jump over here, you can kind of just land in front of the enemy team, jump on top of this, you can jump far into their back line. It's basically a jump map. I'd give it an easy A tier, not necessarily S because it's really easy to get shot out of the sky if you do it incorrectly, but you have a lot of room here. No, I'll leave it at this one. This is like, the other one was just kind of a neat idea. Alright, on to, let's see, what's next? Arena maps. Never mind. Not onto arena maps. Onto Christmas maps, right. Whatville doesn't exist. Snowville, I think, is next. Yeah. Never play Whatville. You'll regret your life choices. I did it once, and I did. That's your proof right there. Oh, player destruction, not payload. Okay, whatever. I think this honestly could go above Koth. Lumberyard or whatever. Sawmill. Purely because in player destruction it's so important to be able to chase down specific targets and to be able to escape with things. Although I'd actually played this map, maybe it's a bit different in player destruction. Christmas gifts. Bear with me here. Oh, you deposit the gifts from there. Okay, I see, yeah. Yeah, so I'd move it up I'd say, where do I have Lumberyard? Sawmill at? Probably S tier for this, yeah. off of memory, I'd say graveyard, lumberyard, nucleus, off blast, sawmill watchtower, and maybe Badlands Arena are pretty up there when it comes to jetpack usability for arena. I'd say the other official arenas not so much. I really want to get those in as well to make it a really 100% completion, but guess not. Altitude, really new map. Really, really, really good. Actually, favorite jetpack map for attack defense now. I'd probably put it at S tier. There's so many good jump angles. Everywhere is basically jumpable, even more than Moss Rock. Look at how high you can go, it's ridiculous. Don't think you can clip on that, nope. You can basically land at any enemy spawn. You can jump at this from the blue side and just land completely behind them. Land it basically anywhere you want. And it is honestly so enjoyable. So A, 100% great. B, pretty damn good as well. You could go flying high like this, land behind this, you can jump over this like that. You can jump all the way over around, you can land on the flanks from above like this super high. You can jump in on the side here, this opens up, you can go on the flank, you can go up here. A lot of really good routes. On C it loses steam a bit, I would say. Let me just double check though. Lobby fight, yeah. Yeah, so because last success, I'm gonna give it a high A tier, I think. Every other point though, absolutely fantastic for it. I don't know. I still kind of want to give it an S tier, actually, just due to how good the other 2 points are, but I don't feel like that's fair. I feel like you have to take the full map into account. Yeah, so that'd be an A tier. Next map is Bread Space. It was okay for it, but honestly it's a bit too wide open, if that makes sense. Like, you can just sort of be seeing from everywhere. Yeah. And there's some nice jumps and all. Landing like way above, but you have to get really creative and keep innovating, or else the enemies are just gonna like get your numbers, so to speak, fairly quickly on. So A is pretty good for it. Interesting trimp. B is not good, I would say. Not good for it. It all just kind of converges at these areas. You can kind of jump in, but there's gonna be sentries here. Yeah. Maybe on C it'd be a bit better. There is a lot of open room, but I feel like that honestly works out to disadvantage here because not much of it is good flank room. A lot of it's just like shut down by the same 2 demo men or sentries, so on and so forth. Last, not that great for it, a little bit of mobility. Probably a D tier. It has potential, but that same potential works against it. Double Frost is the same. Cascade, Jillian Polar. Now Cascade, competitive map, but also Christmas now. Now, Cascade was really good for the detonator. I believe it's pretty good for the jetpack as well, but again, it is a lot of commitment, so it's like you have to be very decisive.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Yeah, so check this out. You can go in right there, you could go in all the way over here, you can jump to the side over here, you can jump like this to their ramp. I believe, at least in older versions, you could jump on top of here. Yep, you can still do that. You can basically go anywhere for the mid-fight. It's still good for the detonator as well, because you can detonate like onto this, for instance, and then you can jump up into there. You can go from here to there. from there to there, from there to there. But jetpack allows you to do that, just like less temp. Like, it gives you more control over it. Basically, you're going to be in a lot better position, but with less technical potential, I want to say, like, or rather, like, less recommitment potential, because it's like, once you use up your jetpacks, you're basically out. Whereas with the detonator, like, there's more risk involved, but you can potentially recommit more from more angles, because you always have access to it as long as you have health. We are not covering MGE. Not today. Never.
Pyro, hauling here. Think you can handle this?
Mission begins in 60 seconds.
If I recall, this map was pretty fun for it. Nice areas to dive from over here. A lot of little routes. I don't know if it's actually that good for it though on paper. I mean, it was fun, I'll give it that, but probably pub syndrome.
Mission begins in 30.
And you can do a hive bomb over here, so it's like, yeah, kind of. Then you can go on to this flank like that. You can infiltrate from here, jump in further. So there is potential, definitely. It's just you have to be kind of cautious. Okay, yeah, I can vibe with this map. Interested to see if you can do this. You can't. Never trust lamps. So, it's like, if your team is good, then this map is going to be really fun for you, I'd say. Lots of nice, healthy jumps, a lot of curve. Last especially was fantastic for it. You can jump onto this roof. You can't jump up to there, but from this roof you can go, like, basically anywhere, and vice versa. Jump over here, up there. You can go all the way around over here, land over here, flank them from here. My favorite one was just to, like, kind of kamikaze into people, like, something like this to this. Or, like, to this and over here. I'd say probably A tier. But if your team isn't really making space, then you're gonna have a very unfun time. I don't actually know the official name of the map. Okay, well that will conclude this, the overall things. Let's go into specifics, so. Check that, yeah. Yeah, just making some final adjustments. Never really enjoyed high tower much. Yeah, I think I'm satisfied with that. I believe I will call that a recording. My brain is too fried to do anything further.